From northern Qin to Nanqi, Song Junshin marched north with his troops under a ruthless slogan, regardless of age. None would be spared. Our heroine, Song Qingjing, was a marriage alliance princess of Nanqi. What she received was not rescue from her mother country, but a cruel death. Even with only her last breath left, Song Qingjing still carried a heart-wrenching question. Why did even you want me dead? Royal brother. Scene after scene of Nanqi's new emperor, Song Junshin, slowly resurfaced in her mind. Suddenly, Qingjing felt as though she were hallucinating. She even heard a eunuch cursing someone. "TSK, your bones are pretty stubborn. I'll spare you today. Come on, let's go drink." She looked in shock at the child lying on the ground and thought, isn't that Song Junshin? So even he was once bullied by eunuchs? Then she suddenly heard a little girl's voice ring out. "Eunuch Qin, you really do know how to talk. Is it so impossible for this princess to get better?" Qingjing stared at the little girl and cried out inwardly, this cute little firecracker. "Isn't that me?" At last, she calmed down and faced reality. Staring at herself in the mirror, she was stunned. Heaven has shown mercy. Song Qingjing has actually been reborn. Since I have been reborn, I will definitely stand at the very top of this palace and take control of my own fate. And so, we now have a black-hearted reborn little princess facing off against a fierce little prince. If you want to see how this pair of siblings will tear each other apart in love and hate, then stay tuned. A group of eunuchs cried out in panic. Eunuch Li, no, he stopped breathing. Every one of them was a coward, hurrying to avoid blame. Who knows how that fellow died? What are we supposed to do if those above hold us accountable? Since he died here, it must be the ninth prince's fault. Hurry and inform Eunuch Qin. Song Qingjing's face darkened as she muttered inwardly, "He's dead." Really dead? Song Junshin killed this eunuch? Suddenly, a cold voice sounded behind her. Elder sister saw everything, didn't she? It sent a chill straight down her spine. Qingjing hurriedly hid her fear and played dumb, smiling as she said, "I heard Royal Brother was in the Cold Palace too, so I came to visit you. I didn't expect to run into this eunuch suddenly dropping dead." Before she could finish, Junshin grabbed her wrist and flung her against the wall, making Qingjing wince in pain. And that Royal Brother of hers was still like a suspicious wolf, coldly saying, "Speak. What is your purpose?" She answered blankly, "What purpose could I possibly have? I really was just passing by." When she saw his small hand reaching toward her, Qingjing's instincts screamed in fear. Damn it, the great demon King Song Junshin isn't trying to silence me, is he?" In that life or death moment, she could only shout, "You can't kill me. I'm His Majesty's 7th princess. If I die, the trouble for you won't be small. But if you let me go, I can help you get out of here." While she was still trembling, Junshin reached out and pulled the hairpin from her hair. Clicking his tongue, he muttered softly, "You really can't hide your fear, can you?" Just then, many voices came from outside. "Eunuch Qin, Eunuch Li died in the 9th prince's quarters. He must have used some kind of sorcery. It has to be. I heard the 9th prince's imperial mother." Before the sentence could finish, Eunuch Qin cut him off. "Silence. Do you have a death wish? Gossiping about that person?" Then he said very politely, "9th prince, a man has died in your quarters. No matter what, you should at least give this servant an explanation, shouldn't you?" Junshin thought to himself, if she says she can help me get out, then I should consider it. In any case, I still need to keep my true strength hidden. So he immediately pointed at Qingjing and said with innocent grievance, "It was elder sister." Sure enough, the old eunuch Qin took one look at her and said disdainfully, "Isn't this the 7th princess?" The Cold Palace is truly lively today. Even the 7th princess, who has been ill for so long without recovering, has come out. She disliked him immensely, so she snapped, "Eunuch Qin really knows how to talk. Is it so impossible for this princess to improve?" Clearly, he found her more and more distasteful, and said stiffly, "This servant was rude. May I ask why the 7th princess killed Eunuch Li? When a prince breaks the law, he is punished the same as a commoner. Your Highness, please come with us to the Office of Punishments. Seize the 7th princess." The moment he finished speaking, a crowd of eunuchs pounced on her. In the end, Song Qingjing was still captured and taken away. Unwillingly, she secretly glanced back at Junshin behind her. A whole group of grown men openly bullying a child. "Move! Stop dragging your feet." Meanwhile, Qingjing puffed out her cheeks and sauntered along as she came up with a plan. From here to the Office of Punishments, they would have to pass by Consort Dowager Shen's residence. All the consorts of the late emperor were dead. Consort Dowager Shen was the only one left alive besides the Empress Dowager. She must have some extraordinary means. What consort dowager Shun hated most was servants oppressing their masters. So the moment Qing Jing saw the plaque of the dowager consort's palace, she shouted, "Let me go. No matter what, I'm still the seventh princess. How dare you inferiors offend your superior? You servants truly have the audacity of heaven." They still showed not the slightest fear, and even barked at her louder, "Shut up. Even after entering the cold palace, you still won't behave." Eunuch Qin impatiently ordered, "Cover her mouth." What a nuisance. Sure enough, only seconds later, the doors of the dowager consort's palace opened. An elderly maid came out and said, "What's all this noise? If you disturb the dowager consort, can your heads pay for it?" Eunuch Qin instantly changed his face and obsequiously greeted her. "Miss Qin Tan, the seventh princess killed my subordinate, Little Li, for no reason. We are now taking her to the Office of Punishments." As soon as Qin Tan heard that, she angrily rebuked him. "Even in the cold palace, she is still a princess. Who gave you the nerve to behave like this?" At those words, Eunuch Qin hurriedly ordered his men to let go, then asked quietly, "Miss Qin Tan, so this is against the rules, is it?" Hearing him say that, Qin Tan disliked him even more and shielded Qing Jing at once. Yesterday, Little Li smashed the dowager consort's porcelain vase. The dowager consort told the seventh princess to discipline him a little. What was wrong with that? Or are you doubting the dowager consort's orders? Hearing that, the group looked at one another in confusion. Taking advantage of their distraction, Song Qing Jing quickly ran behind Qin Tan and clung to her, whining, "Annie." Then she added, "After Eunuch Li brought the eunuchs to beat the ninth prince, he suddenly foamed at the mouth and fainted. But Eunuch Qin insists I did it." She cried pitifully, "Annie, ever since I entered the cold palace, I've always been careful. I'm afraid that one wrong step will cost me my life. How could I possibly harbor the intention to harm someone?" Sure enough, after hearing her grievance, Qin Tan looked disdainfully at the people before her and scolded them. "It's all right, seventh princess. I'd like to see who dares take you away today." Qing Jing couldn't help but gloat inwardly at the people below. "Trying to harm me? This princess has already been reborn once. How could I still be bullied by little lackeys like you?" And that little royal brother was actually following behind to watch the show. He had secretly come to observe her methods and thought to himself, "It seems this imperial sister is quite clever. Perhaps she really can get me out of the cold palace." The more Eunuch Qin listened, the more unconvinced he became, and he even started scolding Qin Tan. A human life was lost. Can the seventh princess really wipe it all away with just a few words? Suddenly, a gentle yet imposing voice interrupted him. "Eunuch Qin is quite impressive. You don't even take the orders of your betters seriously anymore." The moment he saw that woman appear, his spine went cold, and he stammered, "The dowager consort." At once, the others dropped to their knees, and Eunuch Qin respectfully said, "Greetings, consort dowager Shun. This servant is only acting according to the rules." The instant consort dowager Shun emphasized the words "the rules," Qin Tan stepped forward and slapped him across the face. Then she coldly scolded, "Insolence! A mere servant dares speak of rules before consort dowager Shun?" Song Qing Jing was stunned by the scene, and so she began thinking deeply. Eunuch Qin is also a favored man at the Empress Dowager's side. If Miss Qin Tan can slap him whenever she pleases, then Consort Dowager Shun is definitely not just someone with a few tricks. Afterward, Consort Dowager Shun sternly ordered him, "Go back and tell your master to keep a close eye on her own dog. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind dealing with her a little myself." Hearing those words, Eunuch Qin was so frightened that he repeatedly banged his head against the ground and begged for forgiveness. "Please spare me, Dowager Consort. My heart was blinded by lard, and I listened to the nonsense of a few lowly underlings. I misunderstood the seventh princess and even disturbed your excellency. I deserve death." The reason he was so terrified was because there had long been rumors in the palace. Anyone who displeased Consort Dowager Shun would die for no apparent reason. Consort Dowager Shun smiled faintly at Qing Jing and said, "He dared let inferiors offend their superior and bind an imperial princess. He truly deserves death. How do you think he should be dealt with, seventh princess?" By then, Qing Jing had already thought it through. If she really borrowed Consort Dowager Shun's hand to deal with Eunuch Qin now, then life in the cold palace would only become harder for her in the future. So she very wisely said, "Since Eunuch Qin says it was a misunderstanding, I ask Consort Dowager Shun to spare him." Hearing that, the Dowager Consort went along with her her and ordered, "Since the seventh princess has spoken, withdraw. The sight of you servants is irritating enough." Song Qingjing knew when to bend and when to stand firm. As soon as the others left, she knelt to thank consort Dowager Shun. Seeing this, the woman said with satisfaction, "I am tired. You may withdraw as well." The door had barely closed when a mocking laugh suddenly sounded. Song Qingjing immediately recognized it as belonging to that brat Zhuanchen. So she stormed toward him and coldly snapped, "Royal brother, you've had a good show. How did you like it?" Song Zhuanchen still looked utterly relaxed. "Imperial sister is indeed formidable. You're very skilled at borrowing another's power." Furious, she grabbed his collar and said, If it weren't for you, how could Yunaqin have taken me away? If it weren't for you, how could I?" As she spoke, the image of the determined young man Song Zhuanchen had once been, when he led troops to see her off on her final journey, suddenly flashed through her mind, frightening Qin Jing until she could scarcely breathe. She quickly regained her composure and spoke to him again. "This matter is already settled. Why have you come here?" He kicked the person beside him and said teasingly, "I was worried about Imperial Sister too. Look, Uniquely woke up, so I had him tied up and brought here to save Imperial Sister. Who knew you'd already solved the problem yourself?" Song Qingjing didn't believe him and muttered, "Since when were you this kind-hearted?" Suddenly, Zhuanchen stepped closer, startling her a little, and said, "Imperial Sister, do the words you said before, that you'd take me out of the cold palace, still count?" The moment she heard that, Qin Jing coldly cursed inwardly, as expected of the man who would overturn both Nanxi and Northern Qin in the future. As long as it benefits him, even if he was at odds with me just moments ago, he can start acting weak now. Sure enough, you cannot be left alive. Sensing the killing intent around her, Zhuanchen turned slightly and thought, so what happened in the cold palace before really wasn't a coincidence. But when exactly did I offend this imperial sister of mine? Yet outwardly, both of them were equally fake. He smiled innocently and said, "Of course, no matter what, you are still my elder sister. How could I bear to watch you suffer in the cold palace?" Qin Jing replied, "Then many thanks, imperial sister. As for this servant, I'll leave him to you to handle. I'm going back first." Zhuanchen answered. He had indeed left Uniquely behind for a reason. He wanted to see how his imperial sister would deal with him this time. Ignoring eunuch Li's struggling, Song Qingjing looked at him calmly and said, "Don't worry, you're still useful." Early the next morning, the seventh princess came trotting over to see consort Dowager Shun. Beaming, she said, "Greetings, your ladyship." Qingjing pays her respects to consort Dowager Shun. Consort Dowager Shun sipped her tea and asked with a faint smile, "How's my morning greeting?" The seventh princess quickly got to the point. Qin Jing discovered that Eunuch Li was actually still alive, so I specially brought him here for your ladyship to deal with. First, because I do not want to bear the false accusation of taking someone's life. Second, because I do not wish for your ladyship to be the subject of gossip for helping me. The dowager consort above looked quite amused as she asked, "Do you know what happened to this Eunuch Li seventh princess?" But no matter how she asked, Qin Jing insisted she had no idea why he had become like that. So the dowager consort did not wish to make things difficult for her and simply ordered Qin Tan to take him away. Accepting the command, Qin Tan called out, "Men, Eunuch Li offended the dowager consort before the palace gates. Take him to the office of punishments and deal with him according to the law." Watching the dull-witted Eunuch Li being dragged away, Song Qingjing secretly sighed. She had originally thought that using that secret palace technique to turn him into a fool might save his life. Noticing her hesitation, consort Dowager Shun softly asked, "What is it? Do you want to plead for him?" Qin Jing hurriedly denied it. "No, Qin Jing only feels that servants who bully their masters are not worth pitying." Upon hearing that, the dowager consort nodded in satisfaction and murmured, "You do resemble noble consort Lan in some ways. But if she had possessed even a little of your way of thinking in the beginning, she would not have died so early." Qin Jing was slightly startled and thought, "Noble consort Lan, is she talking about my mother?" Consort Dowager Shun actually knew mother? Song Qingjing immediately seized the moment and pleaded cleverly, "I only have a little petty cleverness. In this harem, someone powerless and voiceless can hardly survive. Qingjing wishes to serve by your ladyship's side always. I hope you won't find me troublesome." Consort Dowager Shun gave a soft laugh and said, "I am only an old woman on the verge of death. What is there to serve? I simply enjoy tea. From now on, just come every day and brew tea for me." Seeing Qin Jing overjoyed, Qin Tan gently reminded her seventh princess, why haven't you thanked her ladyship yet? Qing Jing beamed. Thank you for your ladyship's favor. Then Qing Jing will take her leave for now. I'll come again tomorrow. The moment the seventh princess left, consort dowager Shun's face turned pale. Beside her, Qin Tan said softly, Your ladyship, why wade into this muddy water? The dowager consort frowned slightly, suppressing the pain as she whispered, If the goo poison in my body were not impossible to suppress any longer, why would I be hiding in the cold palace? And she is Lan Ying's daughter. That goo's sorcery. Seeing that the dowager consort was about to collapse, Qin Tan quickly supported her and said, It's almost time again. Your headache is flaring up. This servant will help you inside to rest. Gritting her teeth, consort dowager Shin thought, Song Qing Jing, don't disappoint me. Elsewhere in the cold palace, Song Junshin was still diligently practicing martial arts. His guard handed him a towel and said, Your Highness, you actually made a move yesterday. That was far too risky. Junshin took the towel and said quietly, It won't happen again next time. But it wasn't without gain. I didn't expect this imperial sister of mine to be no ordinary person either. Seeing how pleased he looked, the guard grew even more uneasy and warned, Your Highness, it would be best not to stir up any more unnecessary trouble. Don't forget that your imperial mother is still in northern Qin, waiting for you to rescue her. And there are also our clansmen. Before he could finish, the ninth prince cut him off. Master Zhao, I know that Song Qingjing's motives are far from simple. She even wants to kill me. But right now, I need to use her to help me leave the cold palace. So for a while, I can only play along with her. A moment later, he frowned and said in a quiet, unreadable tone, Besides, it won't be that easy for Song Qingjing to kill me. Meanwhile, the very Song Qingjing they were discussing was in another corner of the cold palace, drawing out a short sword. Filled with hatred, she swung it and cursed Song Junshin in her heart. But who would have thought she was only playing fruit-slicing games? Seeing this, Chueji immediately said, Princess, just order this servant to cut it. Why do you need to do it yourself? Be careful not to hurt yourself. The seventh princess cheerfully replied, This is a gift for consort dowager mother, so of course I have to do it myself to show sincerity. Right, where's the thing I told you to fetch? Chueji brought over a box and said as she opened it, Princess, the late noble consort's keepsakes are all here. She looked sadly at the items and softly called out, Mother consort. The moment she saw those old belongings, Qing Jing was pulled back into the memories of that night, when her mother had called her to the bedside and said, Jinger, be good. Mother consort is going to tell you something very important now. You must remember it well. I left a treasure for you in Sishen Palace. Once you come of age, take it out and study it carefully. Before she could finish, she suddenly coughed up blood. Only when Chueji anxiously asked, Princess, why are you crying again? Did Qing Jing realize tears were running down her face. She hurriedly wiped them away and said, It's nothing. I just remembered Mother Consort. After recalling that memory, her head ached a little, and she thought to herself, after Mother Consort died that year, Father Emperor ordered Sishen Palace sealed shut. I have to find a way in. That was why she wanted Chueji to do something in her place. By then, dusk had fallen, and snow was already drifting down, but voices could still be heard outside. The thing I told you to do, has it all been done? Please rest assured, eunuch. The people over at the Cold Palace have already been notified. The old eunuch who tends to him every day has also been sent away with some excuse. This time will definitely teach him a proper lesson. It's just that the weather is bitterly cold today, and no matter what, he is still a prince. Eunuch Qin answered with very little concern. Princes and princesses die in this palace all the time, let alone a prince in the cold palace whom no one cares about. Just as Eunuch Qin's lackeys had said, that night the attendant eunuch serving Song Junshin whispered to him, Your Highness, I was suddenly transferred away today. When I returned, I found the winter bedding and coal had all been taken. It must have been Eunuch Qin's doing. Why don't I find a way to beat him to death? But the ninth prince immediately stopped him. No. As Song Junshin heated water, he said, So they've only cut off my bedding and coal. Childish. Then he bluntly poured all the hot water over himself and cursed in a cold voice, Imperial sister, do you also have a hand in this scheme? At daybreak, Song Qingjing hurried over, making Chueji ask curiously, Princess, we aren't close to the ninth prince. Why are we visiting him? Hearing that, she replied, He is my younger brother after all. Since he is sick, I should go see him. She went straight to his room and called softly, Ninth Imperial brother, I heard you were ill, so I came to visit you. The moment Junshin saw her, he called out twice, Imperial sister. Song Qing-jing seized a chance, pinching his cheek as she said, "Ninth Imperial brother, are you all right? I brought plain porridge." He fell into her arms and whined, "Imperial sister, Junshin is so cold. I feel so terrible." Only then did Qing-jing realize that this man truly was seriously ill. At once, she drew a hairpin needle from atop her head. Song Junshin coldly thought to himself, "This time, I'm definitely going to ruin you." He flipped her over and took the upper hand, then coldly rebuked her. "As an imperial sister, is this how you check on your younger brother's health?" Qing-jing cried out in shock. "You were faking illness?" The commotion inside was loud enough that Qiueji panicked and called from outside, "Princess! Princess! Did something happen?" Junshin picked up her hairpin and used it to threaten her. Unable to wait any longer, Qiueji shoved the door open and rushed inside. But Qing-jing suddenly softened and coaxed her. "All right, Qiueji. The ninth prince is sick and muddle-headed." She thought to herself, "It feels so good to have Qiueji protect me. In this life, I must protect Qiueji well." The ninth prince toyed with the hairpin in his hand and said smugly, "Perhaps your imperial brother really is so ill that he's become confused. In my days, I thought I saw someone trying to stab me." Before he could finish, the seventh princess briskly cut him off. "Ninth imperial brother, you should know that in this palace, speaking carelessly can get people killed." Seeing this, Qiueji angrily scolded, "Your Highness, even if you and my princess are siblings, you should still observe proper decorum when living together." Realizing this was getting difficult, he could only evade the issue and say, "This prince only wanted to put this hairpin back on imperial sister." Song Qing-jing gently took it back, then put on an act with him. Yet Qing-jing was still unhappy inside and thought, "Song Junshin really is cunning. Since I've made him suspicious today, it looks like I'll have to find a way to dispel his vigilance first." The ninth prince held the bowl of porridge in his hand, but he already had his answer. She and eunuch Qin were not working together. After that, Qing-jing hurried off to chat with consort Dowager Shun. The older woman said with satisfaction, "You've gone to so much trouble. Even in the cold palace, you still managed to find fruit to brew into tea for me. It must have cost quite a bit of silver now." Qing-jing immediately said in flustered alarm, "Consort Dowager is treating me far too generously." Qing-jing cannot bear it. This is only Qing-jing's token of filial respect. As long as Consort Dowager likes it, that is enough. "I heard Consort Dowager suffers from headaches." Qing-jing remembers that in Mother Consort's palace, there were some rare flowers effective for treating headaches. Only, before she could finish speaking, the Consort Dowager gave a small exclamation and said, "Sishen Palace was sealed long ago. I heard the Imperial Guards take turns guarding it, and no one else is allowed near." Since Qing-jing had her own motives, she insisted, "There are many medicinal plants inside that need tending." But the Consort Dowager said helplessly, "It's enough that I know your filial intentions. I've had these headaches for many years. I'm used to them. Get up." So she changed the subject and said she wanted to go to the imperial physicians to study massage techniques and hoped the Consort Dowager could help. Even in the dead of night, Song Junshin was still diligently practicing martial arts. Suddenly, someone passed by, and he felt that figure looked strangely familiar. Sure enough, Song Qing-jing had stolen a eunuch's things and run off to Sishen Palace by herself. She thought to herself, the trip from the cold palace to here went so smoothly. Could Consort Dowager Shun be secretly helping me? Junshin followed her with a sinister smile, thinking, as expected, it's her. But why would she risk everything to come to Sishen Palace? Suddenly, he could not help laughing when he saw the seventh princess crawling through a dog hole. From his perch above, the ninth prince noticed the guards approaching, so he quickly rolled up a snowball and threw it in the opposite direction, making them alert at once. After the guards left, Junshin also jumped inside, wanting to see what secret his imperial sister was hiding. Step by step, she slowly walked inside. The first thing to catch her was that mirror. Memories of the past came rushing back. "Mother Consort, this butterfly is so beautiful. Can Jinger have it?" She had said then. "Good girl, Jinger. This isn't just a jade pendant. It is also a key, a treasure I'm leaving for Jinger. Noba Consort Lan Smai Sopti." Holding the jade pendant now, Qing-jing wondered curiously, if it's a key, then where is the lock? As soon as she finished speaking, Qing-jing found a slot on the mirror that matched the pendant perfectly. She stared in astonishment. It can't be this simple, can it? Was Mother Consort really this casual? Sure enough, the moment the jade pendant was fitted in, a hidden drawer beneath the mirror popped open. She hurriedly took out the box inside and whispered, "So this is what they mean by the most dangerous place being the safest place." Curious, she opened the box and found a Guart's manual, a letter, and something else inside. Qing Jing cried out in shock. This box is actually made of countless insects. But for the moment, she took out the letter and read it first. The letter said, "Jinger, by the time you open this letter, Mother Consort is surely no longer in this world. The Gu clan has always been hated by others. Back then, Mother Consort was a princess of the Gu clan. To hide my identity, I traveled outside to train myself, and that was when I met your biological father. Make good use of the Gu manual and the ice silkworm I've left for you. Remember this well. Never let anyone know your true origins." After reading it, she was stunned. So she was not Father Emperor's blood after all. A moment later, she saw a small, adorable bug wriggling. Qing Jing poked it a few times with her finger, then shouted in surprise, "Is this the ice silkworm?" Before she could say anything else, a call came from outside. "His Majesty has arrived." Oh no! Hearing that, she hastily gathered everything in her arms and looked for a place to hide. The Emperor arrived with many people, kicked the door open, and ordered, "Go in and see what's going on." His subordinate accepted the command and kicked the door wide open. Just as he was about to draw his sword, another announcement came from outside. "Consort Dowager has arrived." She gently greeted the Emperor, and, as expected, he treated her with great respect. "Consort Dowager, why have you come here? There is no need for ceremony." "Consort Dowager," Shen softly said, "Your Majesty's body is worth 10,000 gold, yet you came to the Forbidden Palace at night. Could something have happened?" The Emperor said somewhat guardedly, "I've troubled Consort Dowager with worry. I merely suddenly miss Lan Ying, so I came to take a look." But inwardly, he was already calculating. "I only knew someone had broken in because I set traps in a room. Yet Consort Dowager Shun, all the way in the Cold Palace, arrived this quickly. No wonder the Empress Dowager has always been so wary of her." The Emperor's guard dragged Song Qing Jing out from inside and reported, "Your servant only found the 7th princess inside the room." Suspended in midair, she struggled and shouted, "Let me go, Father Emperor." The Emperor froze for a moment and softly asked, "Are you Jing? Why did you run into the Forbidden Palace?" Frightened, she thought to herself, "I left the Cold Palace without permission and broke into a forbidden area. Who knows what punishment is waiting for me? But Consort Dowager is here. If I act cute and beg for mercy, I might escape punishment." So she threw herself to the ground and cried, "Father Emperor, Jinger missed Father Emperor and Mother Consort, so I secretly ran in." Sure enough, Consort Dowager Shun immediately chimed in. "This child is pitiful too. She was confined in the Cold Palace at such a young age." Noticing that the Emperor's attention had turned to her, she became even more tearful. Jinger hasn't seen Father Emperor in such a long time. Jinger misses Father Emperor very much. "Father Emperor, don't be angry, all right? Jinger will be good." Just like that, memories of peaceful days surfaced in the Emperor's mind. Back then, he had always cared for her. "Jinger is very good. Shall Father Emperor take Jinger out to play?" The Emperor slightly furrowed his brow as he recalled those beautiful days, while Consort Dowager Shen added, "I remember that in the beginning, noble Consort Lan and Your Majesty were very affectionate. What a pity beauty is so short-lived. Though this child has lived in the Cold Palace, she understands the rules well. This time, she must simply have missed noble Consort Lan and Your Majesty too much. Your Majesty, please spare her." Suddenly, the Emperor let out a faint, self-mocking laugh and thought, "Lan Ying, affectionate?" But afterward he composed himself and said, "Since Consort Dowager has pleaded on your behalf, this time I will not pursue your offense of trespassing into the Forbidden Palace. Why are you not thanking Consort Dowager at once?" The 7th princess quickly bowed in thanks. From now on, Jinger will definitely follow the rules properly. Consort Dowager Shin gently wiped away her tears and said, "There, good child. Get up. Look at your little face, crying like this." Even Qing Jing herself did not know why she was crying so hard that she could not stop. This scene made the Emperor somewhat curious. It seemed the Consort Dowager liked Jinger very much. Then the Consort Dowager gently said, "I was just about to speak to Your Majesty about this. This child often comes to pay her respects to me. She is very filial. I hope Your Majesty can allow her to come and go freely from the Cold Palace, so she may help me relay messages and handle small tasks." Since consort dowager Shun had spoken, the emperor naturally could not refuse. Not only that, he even generously allowed her to come and go from her mother consort's Sisen palace as well, saying he would inform the guards at the gate. Hearing that, Song Qingjing's eyes lit up and she exclaimed excitedly, "Really? Thank you for Father Emperor's grace." The emperor dotingly pinched her cheek and said, "It's late already. I have matters to attend to and will go first. Consort dowager should also return early and rest." After successfully seeing off the all-powerful supreme ancestor-like emperor, Qingjing immediately grew smug. She sighed inwardly. "If there's anyone to blame, blame me for being too clever and quick-witted. I just acted cute a little and solved everything." On the way back, the emperor's guard finally whispered, "Your Majesty, I searched the room and found signs that things have been rummaged through, but I did not find anything." As for whether the seventh princess had anything on her person, having heard half of it, the emperor signaled him to stop and said, "I know. In the future, whenever Song Qingjing goes to Sisen Palace, report it to me." The next second, a frightening expression appeared on the emperor's face as he muttered to himself, "Lanning, what I could not obtain from you, perhaps your daughter will give me the answer." Meanwhile, Song Junshin had been following the emperor's procession the whole time. He stood rooted to the spot so long that even the guard beside him almost collapsed, grumbling, "Your Highness, how could you sneak out of the cold palace behind my back? If something dangerous had happened, how could I go on living?" Zunkin kicked him in disgust and said, "Master Zhao, this time I may have acted rashly, but I did gain quite a lot." Yet that Master Zhao cheerfully said, "As expected of the prince, I raised myself so handsome, to the point that even Zunkin tiredly snapped, 'Enough. Be quiet.'" Just like that, 3 days passed, and many things were sent from the palace to Song Qingjing's quarters. After checking through everything once, Chueji's eyes lit up and she cried out, "Princess, we're going to be rich. Look, this is 100-year-old ginseng." Qingjing said smugly, "Just wait, Chueji. From now on, our days will only get better. I didn't cling to this powerful thigh for nothing." After that, she went to Consort Dowager Shun's palace and politely thanked her for the treasure she had bestowed. Consort Dowager Shun was very pleased and said, "Rise. Since they were given to you, use them without worry. If you still lack anything, just tell Ijia." Qin Dan came in from outside as well and said cheerfully, "Princess, these are cakes this servant steamed according to the recipe you gave me. Please have a taste." She hurried over to take the cakes, then brought them to Consort Dowager Shun. She even remembered to introduce them, saying that the main ingredient of these tranquil heart cakes was the rare flower in her mother's palace that Qingjing had mentioned before. "I even specially asked the imperial physician to adjust the proportions. It should be able to ease some of your highness's headaches." Consort Dowager Shun gently tasted one and praised the flavor with delight. "You are truly thoughtful. Your mother was the same at first. Speaking of it, this headache of mine is a lingering after effect from being poisoned back then. Fortunately, your mother understood a bit of miraculous medicine and helped Ijia treat it somewhat. It's just a pity that afterward, Ijia still has some residual poison that has not been removed. I endure headaches every day, and I do not know how much longer I can go on protecting you." Ever since returning from Consort Dowager Shun's palace, Qingjing had been mulling over those words. She thought to herself that the consort dowager seemed to know her mother's secret. So was she helping her because she wanted her to deal with the remaining poison, or was there an even greater scheme behind it? Right now, she was too weak. She could barely cope with what was in front of her. She had to grow stronger as soon as possible. When Qingjing opened the box she had brought back yesterday, she saw the ice silkworm her mother had left behind. She poked its belly and said in disdain, "So this is the Nadelgoon mother left for me? It looks completely listless." The ice silkworm fumed, wanting to curse in human speech. "What do you know? I am conserving my strength." She actually thought it was about to die, so she hurriedly flipped through the book noble consort Lan had left behind, only to cry out in shock, "How am I supposed to raise this Nadelgoo? I actually have to feed and tame it with my own blood?" In the end, the seventh princess finally steeled herself. She snapped the book shut and said, "Song Qingjing, you can do this." And so the heroine truly used a small knife to cut her finger, seriously letting her blood run along the ice silkworm's body. After that, she couldn't help cursing through the pain. It hurt so much. "It's all that Song Zunkin's fault. Once I master Gu arts, I definitely won't let you off." At that moment, the ninth prince suddenly felt that today's weather was a bit chilly. He really was getting hit while doing nothing. As Qing Jing fed the ice silkworm, she blankly asked, "How much more do you want to eat? Be careful not to get fat. I don't want some giant worm as my natal goo." And somehow, the ice silkworm really understood the words giant worm. It instantly flew into a rage, shot toward her, and bared its fangs to bite. In the end, Song Qing-jing was sucked dry by the fat bug until she fainted on the spot. The fat bug had been happily feeding when it was suddenly poked, so it angrily cursed in insect speech, "Ugly human male, when you see this saint, why aren't you kneeling? Stop poking me. I'm about to fall off." Song Zunkin had actually come looking for her. He curiously stared at the fat bug, then commented, "Could this be the sacred relic of the goose sorcerer tribe that Master Zhao mentioned?" He laughed awkwardly. "Huh, it's just a worm." His mouth was bold, but his face was stiff, his arms rigid, his entire posture ready to retreat at any second. Inside, he was screaming, "What do I do? Stay calm, stay calm." I can't calm down at all. While he was still busy chanting silently to himself, the fat bug lunged at him again and snarled in insect speech, "Stupid human, are you looking down on this saint?" Zunkin could no longer hold himself together and flung the fat bug to the floor, cursing in disgust, "Stay away from me. Soft and squishy, disgusting." Afterward, he anxiously looked around, thinking, where did that worm fall? It didn't crawl onto me, did it? He looked and looked, but instead of finding the bug, he accidentally noticed the other thing's noble consort lawn had left for Qingjing. For a moment, Zhuanchen secretly glanced at her and said, "I truly didn't expect that you're actually of the imperial bloodline, and that you also carry the blood of the Gu tribe." Just as he was lost in thought, he suddenly heard that worm actually speaking human words. "Hey, where are you going? Why are you running? Hurry and save her. My meal ticket is about to freeze to death." In his panic, Zhuanchen smacked the worm hard and sent it flying off his imperial sister. The fat bug furiously cursed, "Despicable villain, you actually dare hit this saint." Next, he rushed to Qingjing's side, gripped her hand tightly, and circulated his internal energy as he said, "She stopped breathing. Song Qingjing, don't you dare die either. You're also a key piece in my plan to get out of this cold palace." Sure enough, he successfully dragged her back from the gates of death. But the moment Qingjing woke up, all she muttered was, "Damn that hateful Song Zunkin." Hearing this, the male lead settled old and new grudges together, pinching her cheek as he scolded, "Even unconscious, you still remembered to curse me? And now you've fallen into my hands, haven't you?" After that, he quickly put on his handsome, composed face again and coughed lightly. "That person just now wasn't me. Look, your complexion is much rosier now. Though you and I are of the same clan, for the sake of saving my mother, I won't be able to avoid using you in the future. But I will keep you alive and safe." While he was still rambling, the fat bug beside them suddenly sighed, "This is bad. This saint is about to die, about to die." Song Zhuanchen might be afraid of that fat bug, but he knew a sacred Gu relic of the Gu tribe could not possibly die right now. So he had no choice but to feed it with his own blood from a distance of 2 meters away. After saving the person and feeding the bug, Zunkin quietly slipped out through the main door in broad daylight. About half a shurchen later, sure enough, Chuoji came knocking and said, "Princess, did you call for me?" But she got no response. She pushed the door open and rushed in. Chuoji shook the 7th princess hard and cried out, "Princess, wake up. Are you hurt? Why is there so much blood on the bed?" Song Qingjing was shaken awake by her, dizzy and weak as she called for help. When Quasi asked what had happened, Qingjing hazily tried to recall it. She had clearly fainted just now. Who had saved her? Or had she been dreaming? She had never expected feeding the ice silkworm alone to be this dangerous. Practicing Gu arts in the future would surely be fraught with peril. Sooner or later, Chueji would find out. Chueji was the only person she trusted. She should still tell her. Meanwhile, Chueji was utterly bewildered as the princess sat there in silence. "Princess, why have you been spacing out so often lately? Could it be you've fallen for someone?" Song Qingjing did not hear a word. She continued talking right past her, looking seriously at Chueji as she said, "What I'm about to tell you concerns both our lives. You must remember it, and absolutely cannot let anyone else discover it. Chueji happily promised, "Go ahead, I will definitely keep your secret safe." "Wait, is it really that? Princess, you're still in the cold palace, and you've already taken a fancy to someone?" Suddenly, Qing Jing pulled out the fat bug from who knew where and solemnly introduced it. "This is the ice silkworm mother left me. Is the king of all goo insects under heaven. Gather countless poisonous insects and combine them with a sorcery manual, and one can cultivate the goo arts that everyone fears." Sure enough, the truth shocked Chueji so badly that she cried out in disbelief. "Goo sorcery? But that's the forbidden evil art. Princess, you must not practice evil arts." Qing Jing knew that too, but she had already made up her mind. "Chueji, this is my only choice. In this palace, people may come to harm us at any time. To survive, I have to master goo arts." Hearing this, Chueji sniffled sadly. It's all because Chueji is useless. "Princess, don't worry. No matter who you fall for, Chueji will support you." Qing Jing felt more and more that something about this conversation was very wrong. Only then did she angrily smack Chueji and scold. "What exactly is going on in that head of yours all day? Rely on Song Juanchen? Is he even worthy of me?" Chueji hurriedly admitted her mistake. Yes, the ninth prince is nowhere near as useful to the princess as Chueji is. In the next room, the ninth prince was still reading seriously. Master Zhao, who was always by his side, asked with some concern, "Your Highness, do you not intend to acknowledge your connection with the seventh princess?" Juanchen calmly wrote as he answered, "She has only just learned her true background. If I acknowledge it now, it will disrupt my plans." When Master Zhao curiously asked what he intended to do, Juanchen said coolly, "I remember you once said that to successfully cultivate goo sorcery, one must feed poisonous insects with the fresh blood of the living to get results, correct?" After receiving confirmation, Song Juanchen coldly looked outside and said, "Imperial sister, then let your little brother present you with a grand gift." Sure enough, the moment he finished speaking, a huge fire broke out in a corner of the palace. Everyone panicked. "Someone, hurry over here. Fire. Quick, it's Eunuch Qin's room." In a corner of the cold palace, someone had already begun a secret kidnapping operation under cover of the silent night. Just last night, the palace had still been in an uproar, but early the next morning, Chueji was already scampering outside to dig in the snow. She cheerfully cried out, "Found it." Chueji poked the insect buried underneath with a wooden stick and muttered, "I didn't poke it to death, did I? I wonder if this will be useful to the princess." The eunuch who had been tailing Chueji all this time turned out to be one of Consort Dowager Shen's men. He scurried back and reported, "Aunt Qin, please rest assured. Everything has been arranged properly. No one else will be harmed." Qin Dan softly reminded him, "Good. Remember to release a batch over there every 3 days." After that, Aunt Qin went in to report to her mistress, "Everything has been arranged. No one will suspect a thing." Consort Dowager Shen spoke in a low voice. "When you handle things, Aijia is always at ease. I remember Lan Ning once said that cultivating goo arts requires a large amount of poisonous insects. I wonder whether these insects will allow her to master some sort of evil technique." Sure enough, Chueji was tasked with gathering them, while our seventh princess had long since shut herself in her room to cultivate. After concentrating for a long while, she somehow produced a small explosion. Song Qing Jing could not accept it and rolled on the floor, crying out, "It failed again. Why? What exactly went wrong? Why does it keep failing?" Suddenly Chueji came in, bringing shocking news. "Princess, the ninth prince is here. He is waiting for you outside." Qing Jing immediately cursed inwardly. Why is he here when things were perfectly fine? Though that was what she thought, she was still very hospitable. Carrying tea out, she greeted him, "Ninth Imperial Brother, what brings you here?" Juanchen, shameless as ever, said, "You worked hard coming to visit me the other day, Imperial Sister. Today I came especially to thank you." Seeing that she was unmoved, he resorted to his special move, tilting his head and speaking cutely. "Could it be that Imperial Sister is still blaming me for my foolish behavior when I was ill that day?" That was what he said, but both of their inner thoughts were much more honest. "If you weren't useful, how could a dignified man like me lower himself to you?" Song Juanchen thought with disdain. He's actually using a handsome man trap, and it's even a little cute. This is a plot, definitely a plot. Song Qing Jing did not believe him. Seeing that she remained calm, she said, "How could that be?" So he suddenly leaned close and whispered, then, "Imperial Sister, you once said you would get me out of the cold palace. May I know when that will be?" Only then did Qing Jing realize that this was why he had come. She had long been prepared, so she said calmly, "Don't worry. I already have a plan. Just wait for my orders at any time. When the moment comes, I will definitely get you out of the cold palace." What she was aiming for was the emperor's birthday banquet half a month from now, which would also be the best opportunity to leave the cold palace. Hearing that, Song Juanchen grew wary. She sounded so certain. Could it be that besides consort Dowager Shun and Gu's sorcery, she had some other backing as well? Seeing that he seemed unconvinced, Qing Jing asked, but the other party only smiled innocently and said, "Of course I believe Imperial Sister's words. As for last time, to show my apology, little brother has specially prepared a grand gift for Imperial Sister." The moment she heard grand gift, Qing Jing became alert. But Junshin said generously, "Imperial Sister, just come with me. You'll know the moment you see it." She thought to herself, "I'd like to see what exactly you're up to. If it's, then I'll strike first." The eyes silkworm hidden in the folds of Qingjing's clothes also watched eagerly and remarked, "This saint seems to have spotted an acquaintance." After following Song Junshin for a while and being led by him into a room with the door carefully shut behind them, Song Qingjing immediately suffered a relapse of the trauma for being framed before and cried out, "Eunuch Qin, you're not seriously trying to pin this on me again, are you?" Junshin, a professional at shifting blame, said without the slightest embarrassment, "Imperial Sister misunderstands. I only heard that using the blood of a living person to cultivate gu arts gives even better results. So, the moment she heard that, Qing Jing became guarded. How did he know she was cultivating gu arts? Then she pretended not to understand and said, "What gu arts? I have no idea what you're talking about." Song Junshin did not hide it and said directly, "Even in Sisen Palace, I did not see Imperial Sister this tense." At once, Qing Jing glared and muttered under her breath, "So he was there that night too? How much did he see?" Then the ninth prince said softly, "Imperial Sister, rest assured, Eunuch Qin is now a dead man. Using his blood to cultivate gu will be a matter known neither to gods nor ghosts." The instant he finished speaking, Qing Jing threw the fat bug at him and snapped, "Then you can die without gods or ghosts knowing too." With Juanchin's inborn terror of bugs, he froze on the spot. The moment the fat bug saw the male lead, it growled, "Long time no see, ugly man. Have you come to donate blood to this saint again?" It bounced around on his forehead, frightening Juanchin out of his wits, while Qing Jing was puzzled, wondering why the ice silkworm was not attacking him. Seeing that he had already turned to stone, she suddenly wanted to tease him. "Ninth Imperial Brother, what's wrong with you?" Juanchin said mechanically, word by word, "Cue quick, take it off." Only after a while did she realize what was going on. She could not hold back and burst into laughter. "Song Juanchin, so you're actually afraid of bugs?" Hearing that, the ice silkworm grew restless and cursed him, "Trash. This saint is so adorable. What are you afraid of?" Meanwhile, the only victim kept pleading, "Stop laughing and get it off me." Song Qing Jing suppressed her laughter and gently removed the fat bug. After that, Juanchin immediately retreated to a distance of 2 meters and shouted by himself, "Don't come any closer. If you have something to say it from there." Qing Jing laughed inwardly. In her previous life, she had been far too wary of him. She had actually forgotten that right now, he was still just a child. Knowing Juanchin's weakness, she advanced with the bug while probing him. Then, Ninth Imperial Brother, tell me, what else do you know? The male lead answered vaguely, "That night at Sisen Palace. Why do you think everything went so smoothly?" Only then did she realize that the one who had truly helped her in secret had actually been Song Juanchin. The young man, unable to stand still, continued, "Also, when Imperial Sister nearly died while practicing gu arts, aren't you curious how you escaped danger?" She asked warily, "Was it you who saved me? How do you know so much about gu insects?" Inside, Qing Jing was already scowling. "So it really wasn't a dream, but being saved by my enemy. This feeling is terrible." Because Qing Jing kept pressing the fat bug toward him, Juanchin finally broke out in goosebumps and confessed, "My master told me about goose sorcery. When he was young and traveling, he came into contact with people from the Gu tribe and learned a few methods." After thinking for a while, she finally came to a conclusion. "A master?" So it seems Song Juanchin's martial arts were taught by this person as well. Somewhat suspicious, she asked, just from brief contact, he was able to learn cultivation methods too? Seeing that she knew little, the ninth prince could only patiently show off his greater knowledge. "Although the Gu tribe lives apart from the world, my master once saved. With him, to repay him for teaching my master a few Gu techniques." But the more Qing Jing heard, the more she wanted to know. She pressed the ice silkworm closer to Song Zunkin, making him shout, "Don't bring that near me." Meanwhile, she kept questioning him. "Why do you want to help me? How do I know whether what you're saying is true or false?" Left with no other choice, the male lead could only point at Eunuch Sheen and yell, "Of course I hope Imperial Sister can smoothly get me out of the Cold Palace. As for whether it's true or false, won't Imperial Sister know the moment you test it?" Qing Jing smiled sinisterly and thought, "That's right. Whether it's true or false, I'll know with one test. While I'm at it, I can also see whether Song Junshin is genuinely afraid of bugs or whether he really has some scheme." Her expression was so frightening that the ninth prince became wary and asked, "What do you want to do?" Qing Jing looked at Eunuch Qin and said, "Didn't you tell me to test it? Why are you still standing there? Hurry and bleed him. How can heavy work like this be left to a young lady like me?" Junshin let out a sigh of relief and accepted the task. "Understood, Imperial Sister." While the ninth prince focused on drawing blood, Qing Jing secretly began practicing goose sorcery behind him, plotting that if she summoned poisonous insects, she could take this chance to kill him. "No, that won't do. Behind him is a master who understands goo arts. Maybe I can use this to learn even more goo techniques." With that thought, she focused on her cultivation instead. Only poor Song Junshin turned pale as he watched a swarm of insects crawl out from nowhere. They looked even more bewildered than he was. "Who am I? Where am I?" In the next instant, an insect army swarmed over Eunuch Qin and began sucking his blood. She broke out in a cold sweat as she sensed the currents moving through her body. Only when she vaguely perceived the shape of a giant spider inside her did Qing Jing open her eyes wide and exclaim, "It actually works. I can feel the power now." Delighted, she fondled the ice silkworm and said, "Wonderful." Junshin shuddered at the sight and asked, "You're a girl, and you're not afraid of these insects at all?" As Song Qing Jing transferred the plump bug away, she cheerfully said, "Rest assured, ninth brother, I absolutely won't tell anyone that you're afraid of bugs." Seeing that everything was settled, Junshin's face turned cold and he wanted to leave first. "It's getting late. We should go. I'll deal with Eunuch Qin." But the fat bug still wriggled and spoke an insect language. "Master, his blood tastes delicious. I want more." Qing Jing had always felt there was some hidden trick between them behind her back. When they reached the door, the ninth prince suddenly lowered his voice and asked darkly, "Imperial Sister, we can be considered partners now. May I ask you something?" After getting her permission, Junshin asked bluntly, "As far as I know, I've never offended you. Why do you always want to kill me?" The question was so difficult that Song Qing Jing truly hesitated for a long time. "In my previous life, I never offended you either, but didn't you still kill me with one sword strike?" "No, I need to come up with a reasonable explanation and fool him for now." At that moment, Song Junshin was still bothered by the bug and silently cursed. "Damn it, can't she put that thing away?" Then Qing Jing suddenly put her superb acting skills to work and burst into loud sobs. "Back then, your mother harmed my mother and made her lose favor. She was the chief culprit behind my downfall, to the point that I was thrown into the Cold Palace. A mother's debt should be repaid by her child. Tell me, shouldn't I want you dead?" After hearing this, the ninth prince shivered and rebuked her. "Absurd. If my mother was favored, then why was she sent off to Northern Qin? As long as you help me leave the Cold Palace, I will definitely investigate this matter thoroughly, give you an explanation, and restore my mother's innocence." That was what he said, but both of them were thinking differently inside. When noble consort Lan was confined, my mother had already been sent to Northern Qin long ago. This Song Qing Jing is full of lies. If she can't be used by me, it seems I can only kill her. The ninth prince understood all too clearly. Song Junshin is too clever. I'd better get rid of him as soon as possible, the seventh princess silently vowed. The next day, Qing Jing brought Chuaji with her for a stroll in the Imperial Garden. She was looking at the flowers when she suddenly heard a commotion. Who would have thought? You and that lowly sister of yours are so close that you'd actually take punishment in her place. Seeing her mistress standing there blankly, Chueji gave a quiet reminder. "Princess, it's probably the consorts from the inner palace. We should leave first and avoid unnecessary trouble." But Qing Jing insisted on going over to take a look. And sure enough, the moment she arrived, she saw a shocking scene. A crowd had gathered around a consort. Sitting on the icy, snow-covered ground was noble consort Jiang. She clutched her face and shouted angrily, "Xiaorong Wu, I am also a noble consort. Just because you're favored, you dare let those beneath you offend their superior? Aren't you afraid I'll go to the emperor and ask him to judge this matter?" At this, Zhao Rongwu only gave a few cold laughs. I'm so scared, elder sister. Once you're able to see His Majesty, be sure to tell him all about it. After eavesdropping for a while, Qing Jing formed a plan in her heart. Noble consort Jiang? If I remember correctly, she was once uniquely favored because she gave birth to a prince. And if I'm not mistaken, next year she'll regain power. Beside her, Chueji whispered nervously, Princess, I've heard this Zhao Rongwu has been very favored by His Majesty lately, and she's extremely overbearing. We really should leave. Song Qingjing acted as though she hadn't heard and took out Fatbug, ordering it to quickly call over one of its little underlings. The ice silkworm sounded rather smug in insect speech. If it weren't for your blood, this saintly one wouldn't even bother with such a trivial matter. Zhao Rongwu was so arrogant that she grabbed noble consort Jiang by the chin and sneered, Elder sister, your beauty has faded with age. His Majesty can't even be bothered to see you anymore. Why don't I send you on your way, so you won't have to grow old in loneliness in this central palace? Then she cruelly ordered, Her ladyship seems a little confused. Let's help the noble consort clear her head. Her attendants obeyed and shoved noble consort Jiang hard into the snow. The noble consort's maid cried out in fear. How dare you treat her ladyship like this? You were the ones who ran into us first. Sure enough, in the next second the young maid was kicked away by the group. Wronged and furious, noble consort Jiang gritted out word by word. Zhao Rongwu, I will repay today's humiliation someday. Zhao Rongwu said smugly, Elder sister, stop daydreaming. In a corner, a green snake frowned and secretly cursed. What are these lumps of meat doing? It's winter, cold and sleepy. Why did boss wake me up to work? So annoying. Because of that, it slithered forward and bit one of Zhao Rongwu's attendants on the leg, throwing the whole scene into chaos. A snake! Run! Zhao Rong, there's a snake! You wretch! Are you blind? And it still wasn't done. Having been woken up, Snake was furious and lunged at Zhao Rongwu, opening its mouth wide as if to boast, watch how mighty I am. But before it could even take a bite, Zhao Rongwu had already fainted from fright. The people around her seized the chance to drag her away, shouting, Zhao Rong has fainted. Hurry! Summon the imperial physician. Snake stuck out its tongue in disappointment and grumbled, fainted at just the right time. But there's still these two here. So it turned its attention toward noble consort Jiang. Before it could even scare anyone, a chubby little hand shot out and grabbed the green snake by the neck. Song Qingjing played dumb and said, My pet ran around and frightened your ladyship. Please punish me, your ladyship. Noble consort Jiang understood perfectly well that if not for that snake just now, her life might not have been spared. That was why she truly wanted to know who this little girl was. The seventh princess hurriedly tossed the green snake aside and politely introduced herself. Qingjing greets, your ladyship Jiang. The moment she heard her name, the noble consort immediately realized this was the princess from the cold palace. Yet she gently thanked her all the same. So you're the seventh princess. We haven't met in years, and you've truly grown more and more beautiful. The female lead was skilled at winning people over, so she said sweetly, Your ladyship flatters me. You're making Qin Jing embarrassed. Noble consort Jiang gently patted her on the head and said, It's cold today. Come to my quarters and have a cup of ginger tea. Playing innocent, Qin Jing said. Then Qin Jing will respectfully obey. Noble consort Jiang gave her ginger tea and gently asked, Are you still cold? Qin Jing followed her lead and said, Your ladyship, it's very warm here. Qin Jing hasn't felt this warm in a very long time. She had already glanced around once and made her own judgment. Although noble consort Jiang's maternal family had been demoted and she had lost favor, her clothing and household expenses had not been neglected at all. It seemed things were not as simple as they appeared on the surface. Noble consort Jiang was very pleased with her and said, You're still so young. Before she could finish praising her, Chueji rushed in and reported anxiously, Princess, this is bad. Zhao Rongwu has barged in with a lot of people. That Zhao Rong actually dared bring people into the noble consort's palace to see someone. Her people charged in fearlessly and smashed many things inside the palace. Unable to endure it, the people from noble consort Jiang's palace shouted, Zhao Rongwu, what do you think you're doing? Unwilling to back down, she snapped, In weather this cold, where does Snake come from? You must be jealous that I am favored and wanted to harm me. Beat her until she confesses. Amid the chaos, Qin Jing calmly instructed Chueji, Quickly go find the consort dowager. I'll stay here and hold off that vicious Zhao Rongwu. She truly could not stand seeing Zhao Wu bully others so outrageously. So the moment Qing Jing spotted the burning brazier, she kicked it hard and sent it flying straight toward Zhao Wu. The sound of crashing rang out, and the entire noisy crowd froze on the spot, staring as Qing Jing fell to the ground and started wailing, "I've fallen." Only then did Zhao Wu panic and scream, "My clothes!" Suddenly, the seventh princess looked frightened beyond words. "Your ladyship, that vicious Zhao Wu wanted to use the charcoal to burn me, but noble consort Jiang blocked it for me." Though someone had been hurt, Zhao Wu still laughed with great satisfaction. "Why the rush, elder sister?" After helping the noble consort up, Song Qingjing turned on her heel and charged 90 degrees straight at Zhao Wu, slamming into her. She forcefully snatched the charcoal tongs from the woman's hand and clamped them onto the glowing red charcoal on the ground. She fiercely brought it close to Zhao Wu's face and said coldly, "Your ladyship would do better to behave yourself." Terrified out of her wits, Zhao Wu cried, "No, no, no." But was the seventh princess ever gentle? Qing Jing claimed her hand hurt too much and slowly pretended she was about to let the charcoal fall. In the end, the burning charcoal really did drop onto a section of the woman's hair. Zhao Wu screamed in terror, "You bitch." In her panic, she raised her hand and slapped Qing Jing hard across the face. "Get away from me. My hair." Just like that, another chaotic scene erupted. In a frenzy, Zhao Wu bared her claws and lunged at Song Qingjing. "I'm gonna kill you." She grabbed Qingjing's slender neck and snarled, "You wretch, I'll tear you apart." But instead of panicking or struggling, the seventh princess remained astonishingly calm. Through difficulty, she bit out the words, "You've fallen into the trap." And sure enough, the moment she finished speaking, an announcement came from outside noble consort Zhang's palace. "Consort Dowager, Shun has arrived." That finally scared all the color from Zhao Wu's face. But instead of letting go, she tightened her grip on Qingjing's neck and hissed viciously, "You dare play me?" Very quickly, however, Consort Dowager Shun stopped her. "Why are you not releasing her at once?" The instant Song Qingjing was freed, she even stuck out her tongue to provoke the woman. Zhao Wu was so furious she could hardly speak. That little bitch. But a subordinate did not dare offend her superior, so she could only get up and respectfully greet her. "This consort greets the Consort Dowager." Before she could finish, she was struck across the face by Consort Dowager Shun. Furious, the older woman scolded, "Who gave you the nerve to harm an imperial child?" While Zhao Wu was still baffled over which imperial child she meant, Song Qingjing was already sniffling and complaining to Consort Dowager Shun. "Qingjing hurts." Even Fat Bug, witnessing this, couldn't help cursing. "If not you, then who else?" Chueji rushed to her in great distress and cried, "Princess, your hand isn't crippled, is it?" Then she pleaded, "Consort Dowager, please stand up for the princess." The seventh princess was also very good at currying favor and said, "If Consort Dowager hadn't come, I would have lost my life." Only the foolish Zhao Wu seemed completely stunned by Qingjing's status as a princess. Chueji and Qing Jing communicated in silent understanding. "Princess, did I act well?" "Not bad at all. You're truly my disciple." Consort Dowager Shun looked somewhat pained as she gently held Qingjing's hand and said, "Your hand is still injured. Don't." "Qin The Consort Dowager's expression made Qingjing feel that something was definitely not quite normal. As soon as Aunt Qin Dan heard the order, she stepped toward Zhao Wu. Trembling, the woman spat blood and accused it was her. "She framed me. She's vicious." Unable to bear taking the blame, noble Consort Jiang snapped, "Don't play the thief and cry foul." Sure enough, Aunt Qin Dan rewarded Zhao Wu with another slap. In a stern voice, she said, "Framing an imperial child and disregarding the order of precedence. Zhao, it seems you've forgotten the rules of the palace." In pain, the woman collapsed on the ground and wailed, "My face. My face." But then Qin Dan stepped on her hand as well, before turning her gaze toward Qing Jing and calling, "Seventh princess." Seeing that her child was still staring blankly, Consort Dowager Shun gently reminded her, "In this palace, some grudges must be resolved by your own hand." Only then did Qing Jing fully understand. In the imperial palace, it was a place where people devoured people. If next time the Consort Dowager wasn't there, are you telling me not to be merciful or soft-hearted? The moment Zhao Wu saw Qing Jing approaching, she began trembling, though she still blustered, "Don't come over here. The Emperor! I want to see the Emperor." But no matter how loudly she shouted, the sight of the glowing red charcoal still made her tremble and beg, "Don't." Without hesitation, Song Qing pressed the scorching charcoal hard onto Zhaorong Wu's delicate hand. Watching the scene, Consort Dowager Shun was extremely satisfied. Not bad, far fiercer than her mother. After finishing with the woman's hand, Qing Jing threw the charcoal aside, turned back to the Consort Dowager, and acted cute. Consort Dowager, Qing Jing hurts. The woman unexpectedly laughed inwardly. In the end, she's still just a child. After that, Consort Dowager Shun continued giving orders to noble Consort Jiang. "Although you saved the princess, this happened in your palace. You cannot escape implication either. I order you to supervise Zhaorong Wu's punishment of 50 strokes." The moment she finished speaking, the woman was seized by attendants. She screamed in utter disbelief, "I am one of His Majesty's Zhaorongs. Once I report this to him, none of you will." Before she could finish, the sounds of slap after slap had already begun. The disturbance at noble Consort Jiang's palace unexpectedly attracted many prying eyes. Very soon, someone swiftly reported the developments. "Your ladyship." After Zhaorong Wu left, she headed toward the Empress Dowager. The woman, whose face remained unseen, merely waved a hand lightly, signaling everyone to withdraw. Without her order, no one was permitted to enter. Then she mysteriously summoned someone, who quickly appeared and brought shocking news. "Your ladyship, recently noble Consort Jiang and the 7th princess have become very close." The moment she heard the title 7th princess, her thoughts turned deep and unfathomable. "Lanning, oh Lanning, if your daughter refuses to behave, then don't blame me." After considering everything, she dismissed the mysterious person. She had her own arrangements in mind. At the same time, in Consort Dowager Shun's palace, Qin Dan poured her tea and softly reported, "Your ladyship, the 7th princess has returned." As soon as she heard that, Consort Dowager Shun sighed sadly. "I wonder whether that child blames me." Qin Dan, ever sensible, said that the 7th princess was clever and quick-witted and would surely understand Her Highness's good intentions. Consort Dowager Shun said softly, "No one wants her to treat my headaches for nothing. For noble consort land's sake, I only hope to teach her a few ways to survive in this harsh imperial palace." Meanwhile, in a corner of the 7th princess's room, she suddenly let out a scream so loud it seemed to shake even the snow outside. "Song Junshin, are you trying to murder me?" Hearing that, the male lead blew on her hand and scolded, "If it hurts, then don't be so stupid next time. If you die, who's going to get me out of the cold palace?" Song Qing Jing, furious, smacked him and snapped, "Don't think I didn't hear that. There was fighting inside the room, but somehow there was trouble outside too." Zhaorong Wu had actually brought people with her and come looking for her, slapping things around as she sneered. "The 7th princess is living quite leisurely, isn't she?" Arrogantly, she declared, "This consort and this mama have come under the Empress Dowager's orders to teach the 7th princess what rank and propriety mean. Seize them for me." Faced with that shocking scene, Song Qing Jing remained perfectly calm. She whispered to the 9th prince, "If I'm captured, no one will help you leave the cold palace anymore." Sure enough, before she even finished speaking, Song Junshin had already made his move. He poured some strange substance onto the ground, and the moment those people stepped on it, they were stuck fast in place. So even when the 7th princess ran right up to Zhaorong Wu, that woman had no way to lay a finger on the little girl. In the end, even her knees were struck by Junshin until she obediently dropped to the floor. Gaining the upper hand, Qing Jing immediately asserted herself. Grabbing the woman by the head, she said coldly, "You bring along some random mama and claim she comes under the Empress Dowager's orders. Do you think I'm a child so easy to fool?" Hearing that, the woman was startled and recalled that she had only met this mama outside the Empress Dowager's palace gates. She had merely heard the old woman claim with her own mouth that she had come under the Empress Dowager's orders. Seeing this, that mama immediately shouted, "Your Highness, she is sowing discord." Though she said, "Even if this old servant had 10 times the courage, I would never dare falsely claim to be acting under the Empress Dowager's command." In her heart, she was already frightened. This 7th princess was far shrewder than she had expected. "Qin, don't worry. I will definitely help you avenge yourself." Song Qing Jing took note of this and thought to herself, "I've had no dealings with the Empress Dowager at all, so why would she send a mama here?" Song Junshin Zhuanchen, sharp as ever, noticed and whispered to her, "She's eunuch Qin's lover. Back then, she and that old man used to bully me together." She silently fumed that this idiot hadn't told her sooner. Suddenly, a chirp 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 like bird song rang out. It turned out to be the secret signal from the ninth prince's master. Understanding the signal, he quietly reminded her, "Father Emperor is here. I've released all their acupoints." Hearing that, Qin Jing was no longer afraid and deliberately provoked them. A mere Zhaorong, borrowing another's power to bully others, and a eunuch's lover using influence to oppress people. And you still want to punish this princess? How ridiculous! That mama angrily cursed. "Princess, there is no need for more nonsense. Since this old servant came under orders, there is no reason for me to return empty-handed." Zhaorong Wu was no less aggressive and ordered her attendants to seize them. Thus, the seventh princess and the ninth prince, also known as professional actors, immediately put on a performance of being bullied into grievance and misery. Just as that mama raised her hand to strike her, a majestic male voice came from outside. "I would like to see who dares lay a hand on them." The moment the emperor stepped inside, his guards flooded in and surrounded the small room completely. When he asked what had happened, Qin Jing instantly burst into tears and recounted everything. Consort Wu suddenly brought this mama in by force. She said grandmother emperor wanted to punish us for being unfilial, and she started attacking us. Luckily, father emperor arrived early. Zhaorong Wu, restrained as she was, said in terror, "Your Majesty, it was clearly they who struck this concubine. This concubine's injuries haven't even healed yet." That mama also cried out, "Your Majesty, please see clearly. This old servant has been wronged." The emperor got a headache just listening to them and snapped, "They're still children. How could they have done anything to you? There isn't even a bruise on either of you. Look at them instead. Tell me, who do you think I should believe?" Inwardly, he had already made his calculations. The Wu clan was needed for balance. The Jiang clan had rendered merit, and the forces at court were tangled and complicated. He could not easily move against them, nor could he casually offend the Empress Dowager. So in the end, he gave the following order: "Wu, if you are injured, why are you still running about? Convey my decree. Starting tomorrow, Zhaorong Wu is confined to her quarters for 3 months. As for you, go to the Empress Dowager yourself and receive punishment." Hearing this, Song Qin Jing was displeased. Just that? No pain, no consequence. Did he really think she was a child, so easy to fool? So she immediately played the victim before the emperor. "Father Emperor, Qin Jing lacks an experienced elder by her side. Could you bestow this mama upon Qin Jing?" The moment she heard that, the mama went pale with fright and cried out, "Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager's kindness toward this old servant is as heavy as a mountain. This old servant begs your Majesty to allow me to return and receive punishment." Inwardly, she was already in chaos. If she fell into the seventh princess's hands, she would surely suffer a fate worse than death. The emperor also looked somewhat troubled. After all, she belongs to your imperial grandmother. Qin Jing immediately turned cute and said, "But isn't all under heaven decided by Father Emperor?" In her heart, she was anything but satisfied. After bullying me like that, it would be a pity not to feed her to the goo insects. Song Zhuanchen watched in amazement and thought that if she didn't join an opera troupe, it would be a waste. She would definitely profit fourfold from one investment. Even Fatty Worm looked down on her for having already won her second Oscar. Sure enough, the emperor was delighted when he heard her and burst into laughter. "Jinger is right. If that is what you want, then so be it." Seeing that the old woman still kept begging, he said coldly, "Do you dare defy an imperial order?" In the end, she could only compromise through tears. After the noisy group was finally driven out, Song Zhuanchen curiously asked, "What are you going to do with this mama?" Song Qin Jing and the ice silkworm smiled wickedly. "Of course we're going to raise her." And just like that, in only a moment, the 2 humans and 1 worm dealt with that troublesome mama. A few days later, an imperial decree suddenly arrived even in the depths of the cold palace. The Northern Qin delegation has arrived. Tonight's state banquet is to welcome the crown prince of Northern Qin. The 7th princess and the 9th prince are highly favored by us and are permitted to attend the banquet. While Song Zhuanchen solemnly accepted the decree, Qin Jing beside him was trembling like a leaf, thinking, the crown prince of Northern Qin. What Qin Yan? Why'd he come so early? She tried hard to remember. In her previous life, as soon as she came of age, Father Emperor had married her off to Hui Qinyan, the crown prince of northern Qin. At the time, she had thought she had finally escaped the sea of suffering that was Nanshi's cold palace. But she had never expected the eastern palace of northern Qin to be even colder than the cold palace. The princess of Nanshi whom he had married was beaten by him as soon as she entered his household, and his consorts and concubines kept appearing one after another. Though she had been the crown princess then, her status had not even matched that of a mere concubine. In that cruel memory, Song Qingjing dimly heard Zhuanxin calling her elder sister, elder sister. When she came back to herself, she was covered in cold sweat. Tears spilled from her eyes as she pleaded, Song Zhuanxin, help me. After a spell of panic, Song Qingjing finally calmed down and began seriously planning how to save herself in this life. She used medicine refined from goo poison to disguise her bodily condition, and her face had been ruined because of it. In her previous life, the one who danced at the banquet had been her, but now that had become Song Mandao instead. This marriage alliance would definitely not choose either of us. As soon as the dance at the banquet ended, the people around them could not help praising the sixth princess's performance. Some were even enchanted by the butterflies she had attracted. A wonder like this ought to be recorded in the history books. If the sixth princess can go for the marriage alliance, that would truly be a blessing for our nation. That beautiful young lady was none other than Song Mandao, the sixth princess. She performed the proper salute and said, "This daughter has performed poorly." The emperor smiled faintly and asked the youth beside the crown prince, "Did this dance please you?" Only when Hui Qinyan said, "Of course, it was excellent," did Qingjing finally let out a breath of relief. Hearing that, the emperor laughed heartily and said, "Excellent, excellent. With a marriage alliance between our two countries, what other states need we fear?" Yet for some reason, the crown prince of northern Qin suddenly remarked with sly amusement, "But this crown prince thinks the seventh princess is not bad either." That single sentence nearly stopped both the sixth and seventh princesses' hearts. The empress, unwilling to sit still, immediately proposed, if the legitimate daughter is married off and her younger sister marries alongside her, would that not make a fine tale? When the emperor asked, "Qingjing, what do you think?" she had long since prepared her answer and did not fear anyone. With a sorrowful look, she reported, "Father Emperor, this daughter was recently infected with an illness by accident, and her appearance has been ruined. I truly have no face to represent Nanshi in a marriage alliance. I beg Father Emperor to allow this daughter to remain in the cold palace and serve the consort dowager." The emperor, hearing this, said indignantly, "How did you suddenly fall ill for no reason? Where is the imperial physician?" After taking her pulse, the physician helplessly reported, "Your Majesty, the seventh princess's illness was caused by the damp cold and gloom of the cold palace. It is difficult to cure at the root, and if one is not careful, it will recur." The emperor sighed gloomily and said softly, "Crown Prince, in that case," before he could finish, the sixth princess Mandao hurriedly cut in, "If seventh sister is disfigured like this, then if she is married to northern Qin, Nanshi will surely be shamed." But Hui Qinyan remained perfectly calm. "There is no need to rush the matter of the marriage alliance. I ask your Majesty to first heal the seventh princess properly." Since the crown prince of northern Qin had spoken that way, the emperor had no choice. He ordered Song Qingjing to return to Zishan Palace and recover well, while the marriage alliance between the two nations would be discussed later. The next day, Qingjing ran back to Song Zhuanxin's quarters in the cold palace. Righteously, she said, "Once I find the right opportunity, I'll take you out of the cold palace." But he barely listened. As he carefully applied medicine to her, he only asked, "This won't leave any lasting side effects, will it?" The seventh princess hurriedly put her veil back on and muttered, "No, it's just too ugly. If I'd known, I would have chosen another method." The ninth prince burst out laughing. "I thought you didn't care." Staring into the mirror, Song Qingjing sighed gloomily. What woman in this world doesn't care about her appearance? It shouldn't be noticeable, right? Song Zhuanxin, hurry and help me look. Before she could finish, the sound of the door opening came from outside. Only afterward did the announcement follow. The crown prince of northern Qin has arrived. The brother and sister were both startled. The moment he arrived, Hua Qinyan mocked her. I searched everywhere for seventh sister, only to find you here with the ninth prince. The two of you are truly close. Anyone who didn't know better might think you were childhood sweethearts. She loathed this man utterly and snapped. One does not visit the Hall of Three Treasures without reason. What business does your highness have? Hua Qinyan suddenly leaned close to Qing Jing and said roguishly, Naturally, I miss seventh sister. This crown prince has been worried about your illness the whole time. Alarmed, the heroine stepped back and cried, Your Highness, please conduct yourself with dignity. Qing Jing is ill. I ask that your highness go find sixth sister instead. But the shameless crown prince of northern Qin only guessed. So it turns out Qing Jing is jealous? Unable to bear it, she raised her voice again. Forgive Qing Jing for speaking bluntly. I have absolutely no such intentions toward you. Please leave, crown prince. Their conversation had already made Zhuanxin unhappy. In the end, he could not bear to watch any longer and reached out to pull her aside. Standing in front of Song Qing Jing to shield her with his body, he said sternly, Does the crown prince not know that men and women should keep their distance? And even in this situation, she still somehow found the mind to compare heights. Without her even realizing it, Song Zhuanxin had grown taller than she was. He was already able to stand before her and protect her. Hua Qinyan, shameless as ever, countered, Ninth prince, have you forgotten? After the banquet, everyone knew that seventh sister was the one this crown prince had set his sights on. And yet you keep tugging and pulling at this crown prince's future consort. What kind of propriety is that? Song Zhuanxin truly wanted to curse him out, but Hua Qinyan's bearing was overpowering. You're nothing but a discarded child thrown into the cold palace. What right do you have to manage this crown prince? With that, he moved around behind the male lead and tried to seize Qing Jing. Seventh sister, come here at once. Because of that, the ninth prince's other hand did not stay idle either. He grabbed Hua Qinyan and said, Imperial sister has already asked the crown prince to leave. Does the crown prince not know that forcibly picked melons are never sweet? Hua Qinyan laughed. The ninth prince makes things difficult for me at every turn. Aren't you afraid this crown prince will punish you? But in truth, he already had another scheme in mind. He thought to himself, this Song Zhuanxin really does have a problem. Could it be that he has developed feelings he should not have for Song Qing Jing, his own elder sister? The seventh princess did not want to make a scene, so she emphasized again, surely the crown prince does not wish to create unnecessary trouble. Why insist on making things unpleasant for yourself? Hua Qinyan gave a cold snort. Anyone who didn't know better would think the ninth prince was seventh sister's future consort. Before it was even Zhuanxin's turn to react, Qing Jing had already angrily rushed forward and scolded him. Crown Prince, watch your words. My imperial brother and I are innocent. Do not ruin my brother's future. Suddenly, Hua Qinyan said mysteriously, Seventh sister protects ninth brother so fiercely. Aren't you afraid that one day you'll discover you've raised an ungrateful wretch who will betray you, seventh sister? Those words made Song Qingjing's nerves go taut. What did he mean by that? Could it be that he knew Song Zhuanxin had killed her in her previous life? The sweet side story time was over. Now we return to the main plot, and its candy-coated glass shards trope. Song Qing Jing feigned ignorance and said, Why would the crown prince say such a thing? How could my imperial brother be an ungrateful person? Hua Qinyan mysteriously leaned in close to her ear and whispered, Want to know? Let's talk in private. What do you say? The moment the proposal was made, Zhuanxin stepped in and answered for his imperial sister. No, men and women are different. But this time, Qingjing's curiosity had already been stirred, so she agreed. Your Highness the Crown Prince, why don't we talk in the Imperial Garden? Sure enough, the Crown Prince of Northern Qin was very pleased with that suggestion. Extending his hand in welcome, he said, No one to disturb us. Very good. Song Zhuanxin wanted to grab the seventh princess's hand and pull her back. But halfway through he stopped. His heart was weighed down with questions. Why does she have to go? She resisted so much just now. Could it be that she's only ever indulged me? As Song Qing Jing followed that hateful crown prince, she judged inwardly. Hua Qinyan is acting so mysteriously. Could he also be a reborn person like me? She secretly had Fatty Worm summon its 500 brothers and thought to herself, there shouldn't be anyone nearby, right? If it really comes to that, then I can only take a desperate gamble. Only after a long pause did the other party finally speak. Seventh sister, do you know the state preceptor of Northern Qin? Qing Jing actually had some impression of him and said, the state preceptor whose prophecies have never once failed? Hu Qinyin suddenly turned serious. That's right. The state preceptor observed the heavens at night and discovered that the purple star representing Northern Qin was entangled in killing aura, and that aura would bring calamity upon the royal house of Northern Qin. After exhausting himself to cast the divination, he found that the source of this killing aura is your ninth prince of Nanqi, Song Juanchen. The moment Song Qing Jing heard that, she cried out in agitation. What? How could that be? But then she thought to herself, whether in my previous life or this one, the Northern Qin state preceptor's prophecies have never failed. Even so, she still played dumb and said, he's only an unfavored prince. How could he possibly affect Northern Qin? Hua Qinyin continued calmly. Then does seventh sister know about Song Juanchen's imperial mother? Qing Jing kept acting and replied blankly. Consort Bowie? I heard she died of illness. How on earth did the crown prince sneer and say she died of illness? My imperial father took a liking to her and had her brought to Northern Qin long ago. Only then did she recall the baffling words Song Juanchen had said in her previous life. Of the Northern Qin imperial family, not a single one will be spared. Imperial sister, if you want to blame someone, then blame yourself for marrying into Northern Qin. Song Qing Jing seriously began piecing together every event from her previous life. Song Juanchen really had slaughtered everyone in the Northern Qin royal family. Could it be that something had happened to Consort Bowie? Had that made Song Juanchen hate the Northern Qin imperial clan to the bone, even taking a bit of that anger out on her? But then she thought of something else and said, according to what the crown prince said, doesn't that mean as long as I don't marry into Northern Qin, my life won't be in danger? She relaxed a little and sighed softly. It seemed it was only the state preceptor's prophecy. Hu Qinyin had not been reborn. Hearing her say that, the lecherous crown prince clicked his tongue and said, I'm afraid these matters will hurt seventh sister, but you have already been destined to be my woman. Song Qing Jing couldn't make sense of it, no matter how she thought about it. If he hadn't been reborn, why was he so determined to marry her? But in the next second, she suddenly understood. Wasn't this the perfect chance to get Song Juanchen out of the cold palace? Because of that, the seventh princess was no longer afraid of him and calmly laid out a condition. With Northern Qin's national strength, Nanqi naturally would not dare resist. If the crown prince wants to marry me so badly, then shouldn't you show some sincerity? Hu Qinyin was intrigued and wanted to see what kind of sincerity she meant. Seeing that he had no intention of refusing, Qing Jing spoke bluntly. If I must marry into Northern Qin, and Song Juanchen is the source of disaster for the Northern Qin imperial family, then why doesn't the crown prince remove this hidden danger for me and make Song Juanchen disappear directly? What do you think? Sure enough, the moment he heard it, he wanted to back out, but couldn't. No matter what, he was still a prince of a nation. How could he just make someone disappear because he said so? From that one sentence, she could already guess that the state preceptor of Northern Qin's prophecy was far from as simple as what Qinyin had described to her. Qing Jing thought to herself that was good too. Song Juanchen was not in mortal danger for the time being. Suddenly she paused, then silently scolded herself for being ridiculous. That man was going to kill her. Why was she worrying about whether he lived or died? While she was still in a daze, the crown prince of Northern Qin had already sized her up and sighed. Though I can't get rid of him, I can make him suffer a little. The moment Song Qing Jing heard that, goosebumps rose all over her body, and she cried out, hasn't he suffered enough in that cold palace? Hu Qinyin said sinisterly, what does the cold palace even count for? I'll tell the emperor of Nanqi to send him somewhere even worse than the cold palace. I guarantee he'll never be able to rise again. Only after hearing that did Qing Jing finally let out a breath of relief. At last, she had helped Song Juanchen leave the cold palace. What happened after that would depend on his own fate. She had still kept her promise. But after overhearing everything, the male lead somehow completely misunderstood her. Gritting his teeth, he cursed inwardly, Song Qing Jing, so I really was toyed with and spun around by you. If that's the case, then there's no need to spare your life either. In the blink of an eye, 7 years had passed. At this moment, at the capital city gate of Nanchi, Song Qingjing wanted to travel incognito, but her bad habit was once again exposed to the world by Chueji. Princess, reading in the carriage is bad for your eyes. Look, it's so crowded outside. She could not even be bothered to glance out. Her hand kept writing notes as she said, "We come once every year. I've already seen it 7 times. What is there left to see?" Chueji was unhappy when she heard that and complained, "You're clearly only 15. Why do you talk like you've lived through everything?" Suddenly, their carriage had to stop short in the middle of the road. Only when they looked outside did they see that the road ahead was full of Nanchi soldiers. Song Qingjing was not very surprised. She said calmly, "Recently, Father Emperor recalled the troops stationed at the border and wants to reward the whole army. One of the border officers rendered great merit. So Father Emperor made an exception and issued an edict to grant him a title in advance." Chueji looked at her with admiration and said, "Princess, you really know so much. No wonder everyone in the palace says that aside from the crown prince, you are the one His Majesty values most. Even the 6th princess, the Empress's own daughter, can't compare. And His Majesty even grants you the privilege of leaving the palace once a year. He truly dotes on you too much." But Qingjing herself knew better than anyone that the person the emperor favored was not her, but the 7th princess chosen by the crown prince of Northern Qin. Let's go back 7 years. The emperor of Northern Qin was suddenly attacked by assassins, so Hu Qinyan hurried back to his homeland day and night because of it. On the night he left, His Majesty had summoned her and seriously told her, before the crown prince of Northern Qin departed, he promised me that in the future he would formally marry both the 6th princess and you. Whenever she thought back on what happened 7 years ago, and then the marriage alliance from her previous life, everything could be summed up in just 2 words: fear. Noticing that her mistress looked unwell, Chueji anxiously cried out, "Princess, what are you thinking about? Why does your complexion look so bad?" Qingjing immediately began pretending again and sighed, "It's nothing. Just the thought of managing the fief's finances for a whole year makes my head ache." Chueji pouted at once. "Princess, you're lying to me again." Suddenly Song Qingjing felt a little worried. She thought to herself that she didn't know how Song Junshin was doing. 7 years ago, after using Hu Qinyan to get him out of the cold palace, she had never seen him again. "I've already fulfilled my promise. I only hope you never appear before me again, because if you do..." Before she could finish the thought, a huge commotion broke out around her traveling convoy. Noisy shouting came from outside. "This mountain was opened by me. This tree was planted by me. If you want to pass through here, leave your money behind first." A gang of bandits rushed over just like that and clashed with the guards escorting the 7th princess. Qingjing sat calmly inside, secretly observing. She had never heard of bandits in this area before. Were these real bandits, or had someone arranged this on purpose? Their attack was so fierce that the guards had no choice but to order their mistress hidden first. But somehow the leader was incredibly sly. He shouted, "There's a beauty in the carriage. Brothers, drag her out for me." A beauty? Immediately, a savage group of men rushed out from the bushes and surrounded the carriage. The leader hurried to the carriage and said, "Little beauty, why don't you come out and receive the guests?" Before he could tease and flirt, he took a kick that made him cough up blood. Song Qingjing was actually holding a sword, and with swift, agile movements, she kicked him hard and sent him tumbling to the ground. But that man still didn't know the meaning of fear. He kept leering eagerly. "What a spicy little beauty. I like it. All of you, get her for me. Tonight, we'll bring this beauty back to the mountain stronghold, and all the brothers can share her." When Song Qingjing heard that, she let out a cold laugh. In the very next second, with the martial arts she had painstakingly learned, she struck like lightning and took the bandit leader's life. Things were lively and chaotic on this side. Yet in some corner of the forest, someone was leisurely hunting rabbits and sighing, "This mountain is far worse than our place. After walking around so long, I've only found one rabbit." It was none other than Song Junshin, the person Qingjing had been thinking about day and night. He suddenly signaled the person beside him to keep quiet. That man asked stupidly, "General, what is it?" Yet from such a distance, he could already hear the sound of swords clashing. When the guard beside him heard that, he immediately shouted excitedly, "Is something happening? Let's go watch the fun." Zhuanxin, like a babysitter, hurried after him and scolded, "This isn't the frontier." But in the end, he still gave up and let the guard make trouble as he pleased. Zhuanxin carefully covered his face and thought to himself, "This place isn't far from the capital. Better safe than sorry." The moment he arrived at the scene, he saw his guard charging out and beating the black-clothed men flat. In the middle of the chaotic crowd, Zhuanxin still caught sight of a familiar figure. Seeing an arrow flying straight toward her, he did not hesitate at all and rushed over, splitting the arrow in two with one stroke of his sword. Song Zhuanxin wrapped an arm tightly around Qingjing's waist and addressed her, uninvitedly familiar, as Miss. Suddenly, Qiuji jumped down to look for the princess, but when she saw outsiders present, she quickly changed her words. "Mistress, are you all right?" The moment Song Zhuanxin saw Qiuji's face, he traced the clue at once. She was the maid serving at Song Qingjing's side. Only then did he lift his eyes to the woman before him and ask softly, "Song Qingjing, is it you?" She felt a little embarrassed in that posture, so she coughed lightly and said, "Young hero, can you let go now?" Only then did he realize how improper his actions were. With one movement, he released her and put some distance between them. Qiuji hurried to support Qingjing and fussed worriedly, "Mistress, are you all right? You scare me to death. You mustn't leave Qiuji behind again in the future." She smiled and said, "I'm really fine." Overhearing the exchange between the two girls, Song Zhuanxin frowned and murmured, "Qiuji, Song Qingjing. So it really is you. 7 years. Imperial sister, I can finally kill you." He tightened his grip on the sword in his hand. But Qingjing naturally could not forget to thank the young man before her for his righteous, life-saving act. Yet somehow her gaze landed on the token that only soldiers stationed at the border possessed. At that moment, Zhuanxin's young guard had finally stopped fighting. He piled those bandits up into a heap and proudly showed off his achievement. The fool grumbled, "I wasn't even warmed up before it ended. The bandits around here are far too useless." "General, you came too late. I already discovered them all, you know." Song Zhuanxin irritably cursed, "I forgot there's still an idiot here." Seeing the close interaction between the two youths and the way they addressed each other, Qingjing quickly concluded that they were indeed border soldiers. After years of fighting on the battlefield, it was normal for them to carry some killing aura. But if these people were really soldiers, then why were they not in the palace right now, with the other officers receiving Father Emperor's summons? Song Zhuanxin returned her sword to her and softly said to his guard, "Let's go." The seventh princess stared after them in a daze and thought, "Why does his back look a little familiar?" In the end, she could not restrain herself and called for the two of them to stop. Zhuanxin coldly asked what it was, and she hurriedly said, "I wonder whether the two officers would be willing to accept the commission and escort us to Zhao County. As you can see, the guards and attendants I brought with me are all injured. If we run into bandits again, I'm afraid we'll die here." Hearing her say that, Song Zhuanxin simply left her with one sentence, "Sister, don't you recognize me?" The more Qingjing heard it, the more confused she became, not understanding what he meant by that. Even so, she answered honestly, "Before today, I truly did not know you." Even the ninth prince himself did not understand why he felt displeased inside. He frowned and cursed inwardly. "So she really doesn't recognize me. Very good." At once he snapped angrily, "If we don't know each other, then what does your safety have to do with me?" He walked so fast that his guard had to struggle to catch up. Naturally, such an attitude displeased Qiuji, who muttered that this man was truly rude. Song Qingjing kept watching that youth and thought to herself, wearing the token of a border soldier and covering his face. It seemed he did not want others to recognize him. "I only hope he is friend, not foe." After that, she went to comfort the two poor horses whose rumps had been pierced by arrows. The captain of the guards accompanying her hurried over to report, "Mistress, this subordinate has discovered a military camp nearby. It's flying the banner of the border army. We can go there and ask for help." But, seeing him hesitate, she asked curiously, "But what?" The guard did not hide anything and said honestly, "The border troops were supposed to have entered the palace. Why would they be camped out here so far from the capital? This subordinate fears it may be a trap." After thinking for a while, Qingjing finally said, "Weren't the two men who helped us just now also border soldiers? Maybe it's simply a coincidence. Even if it really is a trap, we have no other choice right now." Our people and horses are badly injured. Since we can't continue the journey, let's go check out the camp. Sure enough, as soon as Song Qingjing's group arrived at the camp, they ran into that righteous fool of a soldier from before. He respectfully saluted her. This general failed to recognize Mount Tai and offended the 7th princess earlier. She said gently, "One who does not know is not at fault. Besides, the deputy general saved this princess's life, so you should be rewarded instead." The moment the fool heard the word reward, his eyes shone like stars. Earlier, the princess said she was heading to Zhao County. How about this humble general leads men to wipe out that bandit stronghold, so the princess need not worry about her safety anymore? Hearing that, Song Qingjing said with satisfaction, "Many thanks, Deputy General. This is truly a deed that relieves the suffering of the common people. I wonder when troops can be sent out to destroy the bandits' lair." As soon as she asked about this, he instantly turned foolish again and said, "Ah, that's bad. Of course, we still have to ask our general first." The moment he finished speaking, Song Zhuanchen suddenly appeared, strikingly handsome in armor that must have weighed over 10 kilos. His deep voice sounded out, "Ask me what?" He walked calmly into the camp. Only then did the 7th princess realize in shock that the man before her was Song Zhuanchen. He was no less startled than she was and thought to himself, "Why am I running into Song Qingjing again?" Before he could come up with a response, the silly deputy general was already happily boasting. "General, who would have thought we'd just rescued the princess from bandits?" Hearing him merely grunt in acknowledgement, all 4 of Qingjing's limbs stiffened as she thought, "Why is he here?" Could it be that the place Hua Qinyan had said was worse than the cold palace was the military camp? But she still played dumb to the end and asked, "May I ask how this general should be addressed?" He inwardly sneered in disdain. "You still don't recognize me even now, you fool?" Even so, Zhuanchen answered politely, "This humble general's lowly name is hardly worth mentioning. Better not dirty the princess's ears with it." Qingjing was not about to let him off and sharply said, "Everyone has a surname and a given name. No matter how awful it sounds, can it really be worse than dog, leftovers, or smelly feet? Could the general's name truly be worse than that?" Disgusted, she cursed inwardly. After 7 years apart, he'd actually developed such a strange temper. Song Zhuanchen roared inside, "Smelly feet? Watch your words. This woman's tongue is even sharper than it was 7 years ago." Only the silly deputy general was honestly thinking it over as he sighed. Is the general's name really that bad? Muching sounds much better than my name, Taizhu. Zhuanchen angrily snapped at him. Who asked you to talk so much? After getting her answer, Qingjing continued sharply. So it's General Muching. But I've never heard of any general with the surname Mu before. Zhuanchen was no less biting, and taunted her. The princess is precious as gold and lives deep within the palace. Naturally, you hear less. The 2 of them sparked against each other like clashing lightning. Is he mocking me for being ignorant? Qingjing fumed. Foolish woman, I made the hint so obvious and you still can't figure it out. Zhuanchen knew her all too well. After that, the 2 of them were like identical poles of a magnet, avoiding each other as if avoiding plague spirits, leaving Taizhu in an extremely awkward position. "Princess, are you worried the general isn't capable enough?" "Don't worry. Our General Mu is just modest. Our border army is stationed so far away that it's normal for the princess not to know. To be honest with you, in the entire frontier force, there isn't a single person who doesn't know young General Mu from our 43 camps." Realizing that this fool was talking far too much, Zhuanchen angrily barked, "Deputy General Zhao, Taizhu, double training today." Taizhu felt aggrieved, but Taizhu did not dare speak. Right after that, General Muching signaled that he was seeing his guest out and said that the military camp did not keep women, asking the princess to leave at once. Somewhat displeased, she asked, "You know I'm a princess, and you still dare drive me away?" As expected, he did not waver in the slightest. Instead, steady as a rock, he said, "Military orders are as unshakable as a mountain. Surely your highness is not deliberately making things difficult for this general." The more Qingjing listened, the angrier she became, cursing inwardly that this man was truly growing more detestable by the day. Realizing that if she stayed here another second she would die of anger, Song Qingjing said, "If the general insists on using military orders to pressure me, then of course I will not make things difficult for you." She brushed past him in a huff, not forgetting to ram into him hard. But somehow he swiftly dodged aside, causing her to lose her balance and stumble, only to have this man catch her by the waist again. In that instant, Qingjing suddenly recalled the past and thought to herself that he was nothing like he had been as a child. Then Song Junshin helped her back upright and solemnly remarked, "Your Highness should be more careful. This general does not wish to bear the crime of harming royalty." Furious, she shouted, "Who needs your concern? Chueji, let's go." Junshin tightened the hand that had just held her waist and thought to himself, "She seems to have gotten even thinner." The next second, he shook the thought off and snorted. "What does that have to do with me? Best if she leaves quickly." Before he could finish weighing the trouble that might follow, that fool Zhao Taizhu had already come over and started chattering. "General, think it through. She's still a princess. What if she runs into mountain bandits and something happens to her? If we stand by and do nothing, we'll definitely be held accountable." Junshin said calmly, "She's very crafty. What loss could possibly come to her?" Yet Zhao Taizhu still could not suppress his worry and hurried after the seventh princess. Just as Song Junshin stepped out of camp, some soldiers rushed over. "General, don't say anything. Just watch us perform. General, we know we were wrong. Please give us a chance to make amends." Seeing that the princess seemed interested, Taizhu quickly explained, "Our general may look cold, but he's warm-hearted. He voluntarily gave up his own tent to your highness because he was afraid of delaying your journey." Qingjing nodded in satisfaction. "If that's the case, then for the deputy general's sake, I won't argue with General Mu. It's just that this tent doesn't look exactly like a dog kennel, does it?" Deputy General Zhao laughed and said, "Your Highness, rest assured, I'll definitely have it cleaned up for you." Hearing her say that, Junshin's expression turned cold, and he muttered, "Fine then. If you got the guts, don't leave." And so, she really did stay on at the ninth prince's camp. However, before long, even a whole big rabbit stew had only a single green vegetable in it. Qingjing angrily threw aside the bed curtain and shouted, "Very well, Song Junshin, you'll really stop at nothing just to annoy me. Childish, ungrateful. If I'm not being provoked by you, then what is this? Where is your General Mu? I want to see him." Zhao Taizhu, who had been standing guard outside the whole time, swiftly reported, "The general led a squad to wipe out the bandits' stronghold. Before leaving, he specifically instructed us to protect the princess." Unexpectedly, that bit of news immediately smothered her anger. Qingjing instead felt a little embarrassed and thought, "Did he go to destroy the bandits' lair? Because of me?" Song Junshin had already climbed up a tree. Quietly eavesdropping as a young bandit named Zhang, Sin said, "I told my brothers I was just going out for some air, but he still hasn't come back. I bet he went into the village again to harm women. Hasn't the boss forbidden us from going down the mountain lately?" Junshin immediately latched onto the words "the boss" in their conversation. Suddenly, the group showed signs of moving. "Forget Zhang-san. I'm suffocating on this mountain. I can hardly take it anymore. I'm so sleepy. Let's go sleep. What's everyone worried about lately? How could outsiders possibly make it up our mountain? Come on, let's go back and sleep." While the two foolish guard were still yawning, Junshin had already shot inside like the wind, leaving them frozen in place as one sneezed and muttered, "Where did that gust come from?" Just like that, he successfully infiltrated the bandits' hideout. Meanwhile, back at the military camp, the seventh princess, while waiting, was seriously listening as Deputy General Zhao explained that the border army had a total of 60 camps. "General Mu is the most formidable general in the entire camp." She said in disbelief, "Song, Mu Chung looks rather frail. How could he possibly be called the strongest?" Hearing this, Zhao Taizhu began praising him without end. On the battlefield, he counts enemy heads as military merit. General Mu became the youngest general because he killed the most enemies. At this, Qingjing frowned and thought, Song Junshin has been on the battlefield for so many years. His aura must be far more intimidating than before. Once he returns from wiping out the bandits, I need to leave immediately. As for that imposing Song Junshin, inside the bandit base, he had already swiftly knocked out one of their underlings. He dragged the man into an abandoned shack. Then he casually stole the unlucky fellow's things and stuffed him inside, while he himself leisurely strolled about outside. But halfway there, a voice suddenly called out, "Stop. This kid looks unfamiliar, doesn't he?" Thanks to what he had overheard earlier, Junshin immediately replied, "This little brother follows Big Brother Zhang-san." As soon as they heard the name, the men laughed. "So you're running with Big Brother Zhang-san. No wonder you look so weak." Truly worthy of having once been a child actor, Song Junshin instantly put on a pale face and begged, "This little one has a stomachache and urgently needs the latrine." Sure enough, the men let him go. Junshin hurried away amid their ridicule. "Look at how weak he is. After only a brief look around, the ninth prince had already realized that something was very wrong. Why would mountain bandits have military weapons? Why would such a small bandit camp need more than 2 patrol squads? There was something suspicious everywhere here. In an instant, he thought of Qing Jing and inwardly cursed himself. Song Junshin, you disaster star, you've really brought trouble upon yourself. Back in the border camp, the 7th princess was still tirelessly asking questions. If Mu Cheng is that capable, why has he never appeared before Father Emperor to receive a reward? Hearing this, the deputy general sighed. Because of General Mu's identity, all of his military merits have been stolen by others. Qing Jing suddenly sensed that someone knew he was a prince and had deliberately suppressed him. Somewhat alarmed, she thought, was it the crown prince of northern Qin or his majesty the emperor? The next second, Zhao Tieju's expression suddenly turned fierce as he said, because General Mu has no household registration. Only then did she start in shock and ask, no identity papers? The honest deputy general replied and recounted the matter in full. I remember 6 years ago, he appeared alone at the recruitment post of the border army. He joined the army only because he couldn't get enough to eat. Back then, Song Junshin was still just a child, and he had come by himself asking, I heard people here can eat there, Phil. From then on, he trained hard every day under Zhao Taiju. Put more strength into it. On the battlefield, no one will spare you just because you're young. Yet after only a few practice sessions, that child from back then was already able to knock back Deputy General Zhao's attacks and proudly say, now who is sparing whom? Recalling it now, Zhao Taiju felt a little embarrassed and sighed. At the time, I thought General Mu was young and had always been going easy on him. In the end, when he really made a move, he was even stronger than men who'd spent 5 years in the army like me. After hearing the whole story, Qing Jing began seriously piecing it all together. She thought, 7 years ago, Song Junshin was taken out of the Cold Palace, and after that he served in the army for 6 years. Then where did he go during that missing year? What happened that made him decide to hide his identity in the military? The simple-minded deputy general said, this subordinate just thinks the general hasn't lived easily, so I truly don't want him to be misunderstood anymore. Qing Jing understood what he meant, so she said, the deputy general is indeed considerate. My opinion of General Mu has improved. Only then did he leave with peace of mind. Once she was left alone, the 7th princess became absorbed in thought. She had believed that by living a second life, she could avoid repeating the same mistakes. But now Song Junshin had completely become the variable she could not control. What place could have been even worse than the Cold Palace? Where exactly had he been sent back then? Early the next morning, Zhao Taiju was already clutching his head and running circles in front of the camp gate. Seeing that, Qing Jing asked with concern, Deputy General Zhao, hasn't General Mu returned yet? When he saw her, he honestly reported, Princess, the general sent that squad back first. He himself has been out of contact for a whole day and night. Could something have happened? Hearing this, Qing Jing frowned anxiously. Could something really have happened to him? Without sparing another thought, she signaled for a warhorse, climbed onto it in one smooth motion, and solemnly ordered, Deputy General, arrange the native troops and have them on standby. Prepare to reinforce at any time. I will personally go scout ahead. That action truly frightened the soldiers behind her. But while she talked tough, the moment Song Qing Jing left the border army camp, she got lost almost instantly. She tried to sketch a map in her head and muttered hesitantly, this fork in the road looks kind of familiar. Did I circle back again? Suddenly, in the midst of bad luck came good luck. She heard voices. It's been 3 days, and Zhang, since still hasn't come back. Could something have happened to him? The boss is already furious. The moment she heard that, she recognized them as mountain bandits. From now on, Song Qing Jing no longer needed to find the way herself. She climbed down from her horse and gently instructed it. Be good. Go back and find the deputy general. Then she personally delivered herself right into the enemy's hands, pretending to be pitiful as she sobbed. You two good sirs, could you help me? I've twisted my ankle. Sure enough, the 2 idiots' eyes lit up the moment they saw Beauty. In the very next second, they had already stuffed her into a sack. One of them was a little smarter and tried to stop the other. Careful, it could be a trap. But the other one arrogantly said, she's just a young woman. What are you afraid of? Besides, if we present this little beauty, maybe the boss will reward us. Then we won't have to stay lowly mountain patrols anymore. The fat bug hidden in Qingjing's sleeve wriggled, forcing her to soothe it. Don't make trouble. Once we get to the bandits' camp, you can eat all you want. And so the two fools hurried straight to the mountain bandit chief's quarters as soon as they got back. They said excitedly, "Shouldn't we tell the boss first that we're offering him a beauty? Are you stupid? If the boss isn't pleased, we can just pretend we know nothing. Best case, we get rewarded. Worst case, we wash our hands of it." After dumping her out of the sack, they quickly retreated. Qingjing looked around once and began assessing what was so special about this bandit camp. Had Song Junshin been captured, or was he using the opportunity to scheme for something else? At that very moment, Junshin, hiding somewhere inside, suddenly sneezed and muttered under his breath, "Who's talking about me now?" Everything has a cause before there is an effect. There is no smoke without fire. Let us go back one day earlier, to before they lost contact with Song Junshin. After wandering around for a while, he discovered a shocking secret. Weapons newly forged by the Ministry of War, and even tribute silver stored here as well. Junshin swiftly reached for the account books on the table, only to hear the sound of a mechanism being triggered. Quick as a flash, he flipped and rolled several times, narrowly dodging each flying dagger. He hurriedly tried to retreat back up, but the cellar door had already locked shut. Song Junshin sat dumbly on the steps, thinking, "This is bad. I wonder if setting off that mechanism just now alarmed the bandits." And so he was trapped there for an entire day. Even now, he was still sitting there, thinking that perhaps the bandits had been distracted elsewhere, since no one had come to check. But the longer he remained trapped, the more dangerous it would become. And if he had no way to send word out, if the deputy general acted rashly in agitation, the situation would only grow more complicated. Just as he was at his wit's end, he suddenly heard the door opening. Junshin silently thanked the heavens that someone had finally come. Hiding in the shadows, he peeked at one of the bandits entering with a burlap sack, furtively trying to steal a few silver ingots. A thief is always jumpy, so the moment he heard movement, the man became alert. But in the end, all he got was a solid punch. Junshin knocked him out and quickly hid him away. Then he picked up that brother's burlap sack full of silver and quietly slipped out of the cellar. After seeing that many guards were patrolling outside, he carefully laid out a plan. He had originally wanted to go back and make a long-term strategy, but this camp's defenses were strict. Charging out now would only alert the enemy. Better to capture the ringleader first if he wanted to catch the thieves. For that reason, he flashed a sinister smile and asked the half-stripped bandit, "Answer my question, and I'll spare your life." Deal. Once he got the crucial information, Song Junshin dashed toward the bandit chief's room. The moment he stepped inside, he realized someone was there. General Mu moved lightly, one step at a time, toward the bed. Then, fierce and ruthless, he drove the dagger in his hand straight into the thick quilt. Feeling only cotton spill out, he froze for a moment. Pulling the blanket aside, he found nothing underneath but two stuffed pillows. A split second later, someone behind him tried to strike. Song Junshin proved that 6 years of brutal training had not been empty talk. With a quick move, he seized Qingjing's wrist and forcefully pinned her onto the bed. The two ended up face to face and frowned as they said each other's names. Song Junshin. Song Qingjing. The moment he heard her call his name, he frowned and cursed inwardly. So she knew it was me all along and still pretended otherwise. And now she's appeared in the chief's room. Could she be the one behind the collusion with the bandits? Because of this suspicion, he pressed the dagger to her throat and let out a cold laugh. To conceal the truth and wash away suspicion, you deliberately stage being attacked by bandits. You're truly ruthless, even to yourself. Why aren't you saying anything? Feeling guilty? Qingjing had trauma from the male lead's murderous gaze in her previous life. Terrified, she thought, that expression, he really wants to kill me. No, this won't do. So among the 49 stratagems, escape was the best one. After slipping out of the male lead's grasp, Qingjing thought fearlessly, "Song Junshin, you force my hand." Just like that, she summoned her ice silkworm and ordered it to fiercely attack the young man before her. But Junshin no longer feared bugs. Calmly thinking of how to deal with her, he thought, since I've discovered her, she wants to silence me. Fine, let's settle everything today. Thus the two of them and one bug rolled and tangled together in a scuffle until Qingjing being at a disadvantage, was pinned beneath him. Suddenly, a voice came from outside. "Boss, have you finished meeting the honored guest?" Another loud voice from outside barked. "Keep your mouth shut. Whoever dares leak even the slightest bit of information will be thrown behind the mountain for the wolves." Only then did Zhuanxin stiffen and ask the woman beneath him in a low voice, "You're not the chief?" Qing Jing angrily snapped. "From beginning to end, all of that was your own wild imagination." Before she could finish speaking, her lips accidentally brushed his cheek, making both of them freeze completely. Part 2. Because they were too flustered, the pair moved in perfect unison. Song Zhuanxin hurriedly got off the bed, while Song Qingjing obediently rolled herself into the blanket like a wrapped rice roll. Sure enough, the bandit chief was a tall, burly brute. The moment he pushed the door open and entered, the ninth prince struck the back of his neck with one clean blow. What the hell was going on? Not only did this man not pass out, he angrily roared, "Who's there?" Then he started throwing punches, smashing holes into the wall. In the end, only Song Qingjing was left alone in the room, full of grievance. "You ungrateful Song Zhuanxin, I ran all the way here to save you, and you actually dared to leave me behind and run off by yourself?" Only then did the mountain bandits notice her, and they shouted to one another, "There's still a woman here." But Qingjing was no delicate young lady. She immediately summoned Big Brother Ice Silkworm and her insect legion, combining them with her poison needles. She fought her way through the bandits and briskly escaped outside. The fat bug, having eaten its fill, let out a burp and said, "I need a good sleep now so I can digest." Qingjing nodded. "Fine, I'll handle the rest myself." As she fled, Qingjing saw that everyone along the way had been knocked unconscious. She found it hard to believe and thought to herself, could Song Zhuanxin have cleared the retreat route for me? No, impossible. Just now he was trying to dump me. How could he possibly have done it for my sake? Suddenly, a hand shot out from the bushes, clamped over her mouth, and dragged her away. Qingjing viciously struck back with a poison needle and injured the other person. But when she calmed down, she discovered it was actually Zhuanxin. Startled, Qingjing asked, "Why is it you?" She stood there blankly, touched to realize that he had not abandoned her after all. But before that warm, rosy feeling could last, Qingjing saw him fling the poison needle back toward her and immediately snapped, "Song Zunkin you." Only when a noise came from behind her did she realize he had actually been aiming at someone trying to ambush her. Zhuanxin coughed as he weakly slid down to the ground and warned her not to make a sound. Seeing him struggling in front of her, Qingjing actually drew out another poison needle, a scheme forming in her mind. This was Song Zunkin at his weakest. If she struck now, he would surely die. But she had thought she couldn't bear it. But then, all of a sudden, Song Qingjing coldly shot the poison needle straight at the male lead. Song Zunkin stared at it, hatred filling his heart. "I shouldn't have softened and come back to save her. If that's how it is, then we'll die together." He actually did fire something back at her in retaliation. Qingjing hurriedly dodged Zhuanxin's hidden weapon, but her own poison needle precisely grazed past his cheek and struck the bandit chief behind him dead on. She then swept past Song Zhuanxin in a huff. Her action made him pause. Sure enough, in the next moment, the bandits started shouting noisily. "I think I heard the chief scream. Over here, all of you. Even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground, we have to find that traitor." Meanwhile, Song Qingjing stuffed a pill into the chief's mouth. No matter how he struggled, she sternly instructed him, "Don't worry, it'll only make you lose your voice. As long as you cooperate obediently, I'll give you the antidote." Qingjing then ordered him around without ceremony. "As the bandit chief, you should know where the safest place is, right? Lead the way." Qingjing was extremely cautious. With one hand, she shoved the old man's head down toward the mouth of the well, intending to use him to test whether it was safe. Suddenly, Zunkin spoke from behind. "Wait, there are quite a few hidden mechanisms in this camp. There may be one here too. If we make him go down first and he triggers something, it could put us at a disadvantage." The 7th princess noticed the other man trembling slightly, and she snorted sharply. He gave the old man's legs the same treatment. Song Qingjing asked a little sulkily, "What, are you afraid the bandit chief and I would join forces to harm you?" Inside, Zhuanxin was already worried sick. This man was cunning and vicious. If Song Qingjing was left alone with him, she might be subdued by him. That was why Zhuanxin climbed onto the well's edge. used the rope for support, and jumped down. After a dull thud, everything below fell strangely quiet. The seventh princess anxiously called down into the well. "What's it like down there?" The male lead, as sparing with words as ever, replied only, "You can come down." Hearing that, she promptly tossed the bandit chief down first. When that was done, she smugly dusted off her hands, then grabbed the rope with her small hand and boldly leaped down after him. When the rope finally stretched taut, Song Qing-jing froze stiff while hanging in midair. Her feet and the ground below were still absurdly far apart. In the middle of her shock, a tap on the shoulder scared the seventh princess so badly her hair practically stood on end. Only then did Junshin speak. "Let go." He wrapped his arms around her and landed with her. The scene would have been incredibly romantic if the two of them had not immediately fallen flat on their faces together. Song Qing-jing noticed blood slowly seeping from the wound at his waist and asked worriedly, "Are you all right?" But the man still blankly changed the subject. "Earlier, I shouldn't have misunderstood you. I am sorry." Hearing that, the seventh princess smugly remarked, "So General Muching does know how to apologize." The bandit chief, secretly eavesdropping, immediately formed a plan. "So he's a general? Then all the more reason I can't let him leave here alive." For exactly that reason, while the two of them were distracted, he slammed his bare fist hard into the wall of the well. The impact was so great that the entire well slowly began collapsing. Realizing what was happening, Junshin said, "This is bad." He activated the self-destruct mechanism. As stones started raining down from above, the ground beneath them also gave way, and Song Qing-jing was not spared by fate. She began free-falling, desperately trying to grab the ninth prince's hand. The well now truly looked like a bottomless tube. While that pair of siblings struggled to save each other, the bandit chief laughed in delight. "No one has ever made it back alive from here." At last, Junshin caught her hand. Their fingers interlocked as they held tightly to each other, leaving the gloating bandit chief alone by himself. After a long free fall, the end of the well was finally revealed. Beneath the thick layers of earth was water. Even more terrifying, they watched with their own eyes as the bandit chief met a savage death. Only then did Qing-jing and Junshin recoil in shock. There are giant crocodiles in the water? Without needing to say it aloud, they both understood. They had to get ashore immediately. They had been in sync since childhood, so one glance was enough for Qing-jing to understand that they had to split up and act separately. But with her terrible luck, even though she struggled upward and found the shore, the crocodile that chose to pursue someone happened to be her. The seventh princess had her leg clamped in its jaws as it tried to drag her back into the water. She struggled and kicked hard, and luckily still managed to climb onto the bank. Qing-jing was not afraid at all. On the contrary, she pulled out her poison needles and began planning. Could this be the deep swamp crocodile mentioned in ancient texts? In water, it has the home field advantage. They absolutely could not fight it in the water. If there was nowhere to hide, then she could only risk her life against it. Perhaps there was still one final sliver of hope. Every child knew the game of the crocodile comes ashore, and Qing-jing was no exception. She was certain this giant crocodile could come on land too. The moment it opened its jaws wide and lunged at her, the princess remained calm as she analyzed the situation. Crocodiles were tough all over. Their weakness was the eyes. Not wanting to delay any longer, Qing-jing drove a poisoned needle hard into its eye. Sure enough, the crocodile shrieked in pain and thrashed violently, flinging her away. Song Qing-jing was hurled into the rocky wall so hard that she coughed up blood. Sure enough, a single strike was nowhere near enough to bring down this giant beast. Seeing it charge at her again, she had no choice but to throw hidden weapons at it. But the shot missed rather than hitting its eye. It only scraped across the crocodile's thick hide. Sensing its prey was distracted, the crocodile lunged forward and bit down on her arm. Qing-jing's slender arm was trapped between its rows of sharp teeth. In that critical moment, she quickly used her other hand to slash a line under its mouth. The pain made the beast release her arm. But the deep swamp crocodile truly lived up to its reputation. No matter what, it remained ferocious and intent on devouring Song Qing-jing. After trying every trick in the book to no avail, the seventh princess could only curl up and pray. "No, I can't die here. Don't come any closer." In panic, she braced herself for the pain, but when it failed to come, Qing-jing slowly opened her eyes and saw that the vicious crocodile, jaws gaping toward her, had gone completely still. Song Junshin emerged from somewhere below the water with a sword in hand. With a single leap, he drove the blade straight into the top of the crocodile's skull. The beast, maddened by pain, thrashed wildly, and somehow managed to fling the seventh princess back down into the deep water again. Junshin shouted anxiously, "Song Qingjing." Then he abandoned the crocodile and its struggle with the sword, dove back into the water, and successfully caught her. After drifting through the water for some time, they finally saw a glimmer of light. Following that strange beam of light, Qing Jing and Zunkin finally made it ashore and lost the crocodile. Once they had calmed down, both their pupils widened to the limit, and they cried out in shock. This was probably the real treasure the bandit stronghold had been hiding underground all along. Who would dare do something like this? As they walked around inspecting the place, blood from Qingjing's hand accidentally dripped onto the ground. Strange patterns suddenly appeared beneath the floor and began to glow. Startled, she cried out, "What now?" Very quickly, all the smooth tiles beneath their feet transformed into bizarre designs. Song Qingjing was astonished and silently considered it. These patterns looked oddly familiar, as though they had something to do with the Wu clan. After a brief inspection, Zunkin also shook his head and muttered, "Why did these strange patterns suddenly appear?" Qingjing said nothing, but inwardly she guessed, could it be because of my blood? But these patterns seemed to carry some kind of peculiar power. Suddenly, the fat bug that had vanished in the midst of danger popped back out and cursed, "Idiot, you don't know quality when you see it. This is a Wu clan formation. A Wu clan formation preserved this intact is extremely rare. If I remember correctly, this used to be a sacred site of the Wu clan back then. Quick, put your hand on it," it urged Qingjing. Without the slightest suspicion, she placed her hand on it as the ice silkworm instructed. Sure enough, some kind of power resonated with her, causing her whole body to float into the air. Watching a scene like an immortal descending to earth unfold before his eyes, Song Junshin stood there in a daze and thought, these patterns are actually responding to Song Qingjing. It's probably her blood that caused the changes in this underground palace. Meanwhile, Qingjing, the person inside the formation, felt the power surging through her and marveled inwardly. For the past 7 years, I've studied the Wu family's books over and over, but I always felt the art was nowhere near as powerful as Mother Consort said it was. I never expected that after absorbing the power of this ruin, it would have such depth. So this is the true mental method of the Wu clan. Now I finally understand it. After floating there like a celestial maiden for a while, Qingjing had completely absorbed the essence of the Wu clan arts. As her power rose sharply, the ice silkworm also benefited and evolved golden scales like armor. While one girl and one bug happily celebrated that this disaster had turned into a blessing, Song Junshin alone looked at it with disgust and said, "That worm looks even scarier now." Sure enough, it could tell it was being insulted and viciously shouted, "What are you looking at?" The male lead guiltily coughed a few times and said, "Both you and I are injured. We should hurry and find a way out." Qingjing looked at his back and grew slightly guarded. Although he did not ask about what happened today, he would definitely become suspicious of me. But he has saved me many times before. Now that I've absorbed the power of the ruins, I no longer need to fear him. I'll spare his life. At the same time, Zunkin had thoughts of his own. What happened today was far too strange. I can only ask Master Zhao after we get out. Song Qingjing, just how many secrets do you still have that I don't know? Suddenly, when the fat bug saw the gold and silver scattered on the ground, it burst out cursing. What blind fool put away the real treasure and left behind all this common junk? Ah, I remember now. The exit is over there. Qingjing trusted it completely and followed that direction, hopping around in search of a way out. Sure enough, after a great deal of fumbling, she finally found a hidden mechanism inside the wall. She happily cried out, "It really is here. I found the door. Song Junshin, the exit is here." Suddenly, from behind her, a spiritual skeleton appeared. It yanked her arm hard and dragged her inside, then slowly began closing the door. Junshin rushed over in a sprint, using his body to block the mechanism from shutting completely as he shouted, "Song Qingjing, are you all right?" No matter how many times he asked, she could not move to answer him because the skeleton had its bony grip locked tightly around her throat. The male lead used all his strength to stop the mechanism from closing, but flesh and blood were no match for stone. While he struggled outside, Song Qingjing was being choked tighter and tighter by the skeleton, despite the ice silkworm's not-so-effective resistance. In the end, the fat bug had to act. Gathering the power of its fury, it roared, "This saint is furious. You're just a mechanical puppet, and you dare lay a hand on my person?" Thread after thread of silk began shooting from the ice silkworm's mouth. Strangely, its silk was not soft like ordinary silkworm thread at all. It was as sharp as blades, and it successfully sliced the skeleton into pieces. Song Qingjing was finally freed. Worried, she rushed back outside while shouting, "Song Zhuanchen." The male lead was still on the other side. Sure enough, after the skeleton was destroyed, the stone gate obediently stopped trying to crush him into paste. Instead, it politely moved a full 2 meters away from him, leaving Zhuanchen standing there in confusion. But in the very next second, still worried about Qingjing, he hurried inside. Somehow, the two of them were in such a rush that they weren't watching where they were going and crashed right into each other. It hurt, but embarrassment came first, so they quickly separated and said in unison, "Sister, brother, good thing you're not dead." But the peace did not last long. Above their heads, several enormous axes, each seemingly weighing 100 tons, began swinging back and forth. This pair of siblings truly excelled in both brains and brawn. Neither dragged the other down, and each managed to dodge through the storm of swinging axes on their own. But when they were finally confronted with a gigantic boulder, they ran out of options and could only cling tightly to each other. While observing the area, the seventh princess noticed a very strange cobra statue here. Ice Silkworm did not explain much and only urgently gestured for her to use her own blood. Hearing that, she immediately asked General Muchung to send her up onto the snake's head. The male lead somehow found strength from nowhere. With one swing, he flung her all the way up there. After using her own blood to suppress the snake's head, she also obediently followed Ice Silkworm's orders and took out its eyes. Once it was done, the seventh princess jumped down from the snake's head and shouted, "Song Zhuanchen." The man below trustingly spread his arms and said, "I'll catch you, sister." And a rare beam of light appeared as well. Song Qingjing awkwardly pushed Zhuanchen away and said that must be the exit. She hurriedly turned and left, but she still could not understand it in her heart. Hadn't he only wanted her to die here? Then why had he saved her again and again? In the end, the two of them and the bug were finally able to get out and breathe fresh air. Zhuanchen then got to the main point and asked, "What should we do about those tribute items in the underground palace?" The seventh princess thought for less than 3 seconds before blinking meaningfully. "I have a good idea." A few moments later, Song Zhuanchen already regretted following her plan and shouted, "This is your good idea?" Looking at the swarming insects she had summoned, his scalp crawled. The seventh princess patted him on the shoulder very clearly and said, "Don't worry. They'll directly carry everything from the underground palace to my princess estate." General Muching's hair stood on end as he stiffly howled, "Who cares where they're going? Just stay away from me. We've been out of contact for so long. The soldiers must be worried. Let's hurry back." Only after confirming that he had gone quite far away did Song Qingjing turn serious and say to Ice Silkworm, "The Wu clan ruins have been exposed. After you've moved everything away, come back and destroy this place. If someone else discovers it, it'll only cause trouble." Sure enough, the moment they returned to the border army camp, they heard Deputy General Zhao shouting noisily, "Military doctor, hurry and treat the princess's injuries." Seeing the doctor hesitate, "General, over there." Deputy General Zhao immediately gave a very reasonable order. No need to worry about him. He's a grown man. He won't die. Song Zhuanchen was so angry that he bit out each word, "Zhao Taizhu." While waiting for the military doctor to tend the wounds, he anxiously sent a carrier pigeon with a letter. The matter of the underground palace was truly bizarre. He had read so many books, but he did not know whether Master Zhao might know something about it. 3 days later, the seventh princess's injuries finally started to improve. Chuaji was still carefully applying medicine while nagging, "Master, are you really not going to recover properly before leaving? These minor wounds are nothing. We've already missed the appointment by several days. We can't delay any longer," Qingjing said. Hearing this from outside, Zhuanchen lifted the curtain and entered, asking, "Are you leaving today?" Only then did he realize she was applying medicine, and both of them instinctively turned their faces away. Zhuanchen awkwardly coughed a few times and said, "Those guards can't protect you at all. If you're in a hurry to go to your fief, I'll go with you." After tidying herself up, the seventh princess spoke sharply. Really? Before, you only wanted me gone as soon as possible, and now you want to come with me. Could it be you have some ulterior motive? The moment he heard that, he began stammering, his thoughts in total chaos. Master Zhao's reply had said that the strange phenomena in the underground palace were connected to the ancient Wu clan, so he absolutely had to follow Song Qingjing. He had to find a reason she could not refuse. Seeing that Junxin did not answer, she leaned her face close to his and asked, "Why aren't you saying anything? Feeling guilty?" Sure enough, the man immediately stepped back and defended himself. "I just think that those mountain bandits saw both your face and mine too many times. Who knows whether any witnesses are still alive? Your injuries haven't healed yet. If we're attacked on the way from my place to your fief, I'm afraid I won't be able to avoid being implicated either." Hearing him say that, Qingjing felt it made sense, but she knew Song Junxin's thoughts were not that simple. Then the other party suddenly lowered his voice and reminded her not to forget that she still had a pile of things to bring back to the princess estate. At that, Qingjing flared up and snapped, "Are you threatening me?" At this tense moment, that fool-faced Zhao poked his head in from the side and said, "Princess, don't listen to the general's nonsense. He's worried about your safety." The seventh princess did not believe him and asked back, "Oh, is that so?" With an outsider present, Junxin immediately put on a serious face and said, "That is indeed my intention." In the end, Song Qingjing compromised. No matter what his purpose was, if he wanted to follow her, then he had to listen to her. So she said beforehand, "I travel light. Only Chuji follows me to serve me. I'm afraid she can't manage everything alone, and I just happen to be short one errand runner. I wonder if the general would be willing?" Zhao Taiju grimaced and signaled at him. But Junxin only became more theatrical, suppressing his anger as he said, "Being able to serve the princess is naturally this subordinate's honor." Half an hour later, even after reaching the carriage, he was still busily instructing Deputy General Zhao, "Take the men to train as usual, and remember this, that, and the other." When he noticed Qingjing approaching, he immediately pulled the man farther away and whispered, "Wait for my news." She felt a little disdainful and thought to herself, "So he really is on guard against me. Fine then. I want to see just what plot you're hiding by insisting on following me." After the seventh princess's carriage began to roll forward, Zhao Taiju still stood there dumbly, thinking in confusion. In 10 days, we're supposed to rendezvous with the other border troops. Why did the general tell us to wait for orders? The carriage kept moving, but noticing that her mistress seemed uneasy, Chueji softly said, "Princess, don't worry." What? She had not even said much before Song Qingjing covered her mouth and signaled for silence. She signaled towards Song Junxin, who was sitting outside behind them. They needed to guard against him, so she could only keep her thoughts to herself. They were already several days late compared to the time she had arranged with Huojue and the others. Hopefully they would not act rashly. Suddenly, the carriage began to jolt. Hearing movement inside, Junxin carefully asked, "Did you hit your wound? This road is bumpy. Should we slow down?" Qingjing hurriedly replied, "It's fine. No need. Keep going, and as fast as possible." Junxin tightened his grip on the reins, somewhat worried. Why was Song Qingjing in such a hurry to get to Zhao County? Was there urgent business, or did she want to meet someone? After all his efforts, Junxin finally brought the carriage into Zhao County's territory. He glanced around and assessed the place inwardly. Everyone said the princess's fief had fertile land and a prosperous, peaceful populace. So why were such good fields all lying abandoned? Before his eyes was a poor, backward place beyond description. Song Junxin found it rather strange and tactfully asked, "Master, we've already entered Zhao County, but something isn't right." Hearing that, she asked, "What is it?" But the moment she saw the desolate scene before her, the seventh princess cried out in shock, "Why are there so many refugees?" Suddenly, a hand covered in sores reached toward Junxin and pleaded weakly, "Landlord, merciful sir, save us." He was indeed a little startled and jerked the reins, making the horse react as well. Qingjing seriously asked, "Are you people residents of Zhao County?" The woman hurriedly said, "Please, save us. We are refugees from the southwest. We couldn't go on living, so we came here looking for a way to survive." Seeing this, she passed over her medicine and said, "This is top-grade jade dew ointment. It can treat festering external wounds. Take it." After receiving it, the woman happily cried out, "Kind young lady, "Merciful young lady, you are the savior of my whole family. My family only has me and this boy left. We are willing to sell ourselves into servitude to be your oxen and horses." Hearing Song Qing-jing say, "Then follow me from now on," Zhuanchen was rendered speechless. Only after a while did he lower his voice and remind her, those refugees clearly don't have good intentions. The seventh princess smiled darkly and said, "I know. I'd like to see who dares harbor ill intent toward this princess." They went straight on to the outskirts of Zhao County. The seventh princess happily breathed in the air and said, "We've been sitting for a long time too. Let's rest here for a bit. Chueji, go check on that father and son and bring them some food." Watching her play with the water, Song Zhuanchen asked in confusion, "It's clearly only another half an hour to the princess estate. Why take such a risk?" Looking at the sparkling water, she said gloomily, "If I don't leave them a few openings to exploit, how can I catch their weakness?" He also jumped down from the carriage, walked over, handed her a handkerchief, and warned, "You're still injured. Don't play with fire, or one day you'll burn to death." Qing-jing took the handkerchief, but still did not forget to jab at him. "I know what I'm doing, but I didn't expect the dignified ninth prince to be so skilled at waiting on others." The moment she finished speaking, Zhuanchen's expression darkened, and he snapped, "Of course I can't compare to the seventh princess. These past few years, you've surely eaten well and dressed well while waiting to marry the future emperor of Northern Qin, haven't you?" Sure enough, the instant this was mentioned, Qing-jing's mood turned ghastly. She was just about to curse him when Xueji hurried over and called softly, "Princess." Song Zhuanchen understood at once and stiffly said, "Then I won't disturb the seventh princess's work any longer." The moment he left, she secretly grumbled to herself, truly moody and unpredictable. Qing-jing ordered Xueji, "Report. Nothing unusual over there. But that child is the opposite. He's been running around for half the day without the slightest sign of fatigue, and he was even hopping about chasing rabbits." The moment she heard this, her gaze sharpened like a blade, and she concluded, "I've heard that in the martial world there is a technique called bone shrinking skill. It allows a person's bones to be compressed at will, making an adult look just like a child. To be able to find such martial artists and take them in as subordinates, it seems the person behind this is anything but simple." After hearing that, Chueji said fearfully, "This servant doesn't understand. Who would go to such lengths to target you?" The seventh princess did not say much. Instead, she merely instructed with interest, "Stay still and watch how things change." After failing to catch the rabbit, the child ran back and tattled to his father. The man slowly ate his cake and said, "The rabbit probably ran home to look for its family too." Suddenly, the carriage wheels began moving again, and an announcement came from above, "Let's set off." Just like that, the group truly headed toward the princess estate. Everything remained normal until the two refugees suddenly exchanged glances. Just as Qing-jing was gently stepping down from the carriage, a child's voice suddenly came from above them. "Ah, sister, you finally arrived." She worriedly scolded, "Huijue, be careful." The seventh princess opened her arms, and, as if accustomed to it, she successfully caught the pink-haired boy and happily called out, "Huijue." Their intimate manner, on the contrary, caught Zhuanchen's attention. The adorable boy immediately began acting spoiled. "Sister Qing-jing, you made Huijue wait a very long time this time. How are you going to compensate me?" Pinching his cheek, she laughed and said, "Go on then, what do you want this time?" The two of them walked inside together, still chirping away nonstop. "I want sister's treasures. You always have your eye on my little treasures. Let me test you first. How much of the medical texts have you memorized?" Qing-jing laughed. All this time, Song Zhuanchen had been silently watching the backs of that sister and brother pair, until someone came to his side and said softly, "Sir, please come with me. Sister Chueji told me to take you to your room." By midnight, everyone was nearly asleep, but the ninth prince was still tossing and turning. He kept recalling Song Qing-jing's smiling face when she saw that boy, and felt a little bitter inside. From childhood until now, she had never smiled at him like that. Suddenly, a noise outside made him sit up in alarm and shout, "Who's there?" Outside, people were also shouting noisily, "Fire! It's on fire!" The ninth prince looked around once, and his heart immediately grew restless. The center of the blaze was Song Qing-jing's main courtyard. The fire was huge, but Song Zhuanchen rushed inside barehanded. He kicked open every obstructing door and shouted, "Song Qing-jing! Song Qing-jing, where are you?" Answer me." His emotions had already become utterly chaotic. It was only when he heard cheerful laughter and a voice saying, "This melon isn't bad," that his whole body froze. Zhuanxin stared blankly at Qing Jing and the pink-haired boy Huojue, who were sitting in a tree eating watermelon with great relish. The brat even said smugly, "As long as sister likes it, that's good." He tried hard to hide his disheveled appearance and inwardly cursed himself. He had actually been toyed with by her. Just like that, he coldly turned and left, somewhere in a corner inside the princess estate. Sure enough, those two refugees were indeed suspicious. They sneaked around whispering to each other, "Everyone's gone to put out the fire. The contingency plan has changed. We have to act fast." As they rummaged through ledgers, they muttered, "These are all ordinary books. There's none of the intelligence that my lord wants. Search carefully. Song Qingjing has been famous in her fief these past years. There must be something hidden here that others don't know about. Why bother with all this? We might as well just find a chance to kill her directly." The little boy no longer had any trace of childish innocence as he sternly said, "Do not act on your own and ruin my lord's plan, or even 10 heads won't be enough for you to lose." After rummaging around for a while, they finally found something. Unfortunately for them, it turned out to be a prearranged trap mechanism, waiting only for them to fall into it. Just like that, the two wicked fake refugees tumbled below. They were being watched by vicious eyes behind them, but were completely unaware. Back on the protagonist's side, Huojue remarked with some amusement, "Sister, why is the guard you brought back so stupid?" He couldn't even see through such an obvious ploy within a ploy. Song Zhuanxin wiped the grime off his face and thought to himself, "Was I the only one not told about this plan?" Noticing the sulky look on his face, Song Qingjing jumped down from the tree and gently asked, "Are you all right?" Sure enough, Song Zhuanxin was offended. He sharply flung her hand away and snapped, "No need to pretend to be kind. If something had happened to me, wouldn't that be exactly what you wanted?" As Huojue chewed on his melon both literally and figuratively, he thought to himself, the relationship between sister and this man is really strange. Only after a while did Zhuanxin seriously return to the main issue. "So where are those two?" Hearing him ask this, Qing Jing put on a rather sinister expression and said, "Since they enter my princess estate, naturally every move they make is under my control." At the same time, another handsome, uninvited guest appeared inside the princess estate. It was as though he was thoroughly familiar with the place. He merely turned the candle holder slightly, and the mechanism was activated. That cold, icy beauty of a man did not say a single word before charging into the hidden passage and violently beating the two men disguised as refugees. Realizing the opponent was formidable, the larger one decided to use his own body to block him and shouted, "Go! Hurry, go!" The smaller one immediately crawled out through a dog hole to escape. The moment the big-headed one saw his companion had escaped successfully, he pulled out a knife and tried to kill himself. After cleaning up the place, that icy, handsome man lowered his voice and ordered his subordinate to report to the princess that the man had already been let go according to plan. The big-headed man had thought he would be able to escape smoothly, but little did he know that one of Song Qingjing's bugs had long since been sent after him to keep watch. Unknowingly, Song Zhuanxin looked at the busy crowd below and thought in confusion that these people did not seem panicked at all. It was said that ever since the emperor granted Song Qingjing her fief, she came here every year to stay for a time. It seemed this place had long since become her true base of operations. Suddenly, a servant came over with a message. The princess invited him to the flower garden, saying she had something to discuss with him. Up in the tree, the idle pink-haired boy asked, "Fatworm, what exactly is the relationship between him and Big Sis?" The eye silkworm answered blankly, "You picked the right one to ask. Saint knows exactly. I've watched them since they were little." But the boy refused to believe him. He jumped down and said, "If I ask you and you still don't know, then I'd better just go study herds instead." Fatworm flushed red with anger and cursed. "Who says Saint doesn't know? Get back here." In a corner of the princess's estate, though there were only two of them, Song Qingjing still did not acknowledge their relationship. She said cautiously, "General, you also know that the estate has been busy these past few days. I am worried about delaying the time your camp sets out, so I will not keep you any longer." Zhuanxin sipped his tea and replied, "I really should return to camp." The moment she heard that, she secretly rejoiced. Great, if he stayed here, it would be inconvenient for her to act. But suddenly the man put on a mysterious look and said, "It's just that." Those two words made her face fall. Just what? Zhuanxin, sounding perfectly upright, said, "It's just that the princess's estate suddenly caught fire. Logically speaking, this should be reported to the prefectural office for investigation." The moment he brought it up, she was furious inside. Back when her fief was granted, the empress had already interfered and arranged for one of her maternal relatives to be posted here as prefect. For the past 7 years, after countless clashes, they had barely managed to maintain a relationship of mutual non-interference. She had not expected Song Zhuanxin to understand the stakes so quickly and use this matter to threaten her. That was exactly why Qing Jing refused to give him any ground. She said, "We haven't met in 7 years, yet Imperial younger brother has improved quite a bit. But now that you've finally secured a place in the army, why linger here instead of returning early to earn merit?" Neither of them would yield. Zhuanxin laughed and said, "What use is all the military merit in the world to a person without a registered identity? If I truly were Mu Chun, perhaps there might still come a day when I could turn my fortunes around. But if Father Emperor learns that it is Song Zhuanxin earning merit in the military, I'm afraid he would fly into a rage at once." Seeing Qingjing's surprise, he added teasingly, "What, didn't Xiang Tianyin tell you how I grew up in the Coal Palace?" At the mention of the past, Song Qingjing frowned and recalled how, back then, Xiang Tianyin had said to her that Song Zhuanxin, in the end, was only accidentally born after Consort Pei had already lost her senses. "I merely mentioned him in passing, and the Nanchi Emperor agreed to send him away. In the future, little sister, you won't see this person again." Only now did she realize that in her previous life, she had always been indifferent and aloof, never once interacting with this 9th Imperial brother. It was only much later that she suddenly received news that he had become Emperor of Nanchi. Even more unexpectedly, Song Zhuanxin had personally led the Northern Campaign Army to slaughter the Beiqin royal family, and she, unfortunate as she was, had become a soul under his blade. Qingjing silently recalled the time after her rebirth. In this life, she had formed ties with Zhuanxin, yet still knew very little about his past. He had saved her many times, but had never once lowered his guard around her. Qingjing felt a chill in her heart. If she did not want to repeat the mistakes of her previous life, and if she wanted to break off the engagement with Beiqin, then her greatest threat was Song Zhuanxin. It was only when a servant softly called, "Princess," that Qingjing suddenly snapped out of it. While Zhuanxin, still sipping his tea, asked in a low voice, "Do you have news of those two already?" The servant at her side turned pale the moment she heard him and cried out, "How did you?" The sharp-witted 9th prince laid out his reasoning one point at a time. "You are the maid serving beside the princess, yet you were not at her side. That means only the matter of that refugee father and son could have required you to handle it personally." At that point, Qingjing no longer wished to treat him as an outsider. She extended her hand toward the male lead and said, "If Imperial younger brother is that concerned, why not come and have a look with me?" Qingjing said softly, "Once we reach the secret chamber, Imperial younger brother will naturally understand everything." Yet in her heart, she had already made a plan. "Once we reach the secret chamber, your life will be mine." But Zhuanxin merely poured himself a fresh cup of tea. Turning it idly in his hand, he said calmly, "No rush. From the looks of Imperial elder sister, you seem to think that once those two father and son are caught, you can sit back without worry, don't you?" The 7th princess sniped back. "The refugees of Zhao County causing trouble are naturally the prefect's headache. Of course, if he cannot suppress them, then when I return to the capital in a few days, I can also put in a few good words for him before Father Emperor." Song Zhuanxin laughed and said, "Imperial elder sister is truly generous." Not afraid that, before he could finish, a commotion outside cut him off. The pink-haired boy, who had been leisurely sorting medicinal herbs, was so startled that even the hair on his head stood up. This cold, handsome man was named Wu Ya, a guard of the princess's estate. He hurried over and reported, "Princess, the gates of the estate have been surrounded by a large number of refugees. Someone appears to have deliberately stirred them up and incited them to storm the estate and seize grain." Qingjing instantly felt that something was wrong. She had only been in Zhao County for half a day, so how could they already know where she was? The pink-haired boy hurriedly jumped into her arms and cried, "Big sis, what happened? It's so noisy outside." Zhuanxin, meanwhile, truly disliked this pink-haired brat. For the sake of his mistress's safety, Weia immediately suggested that she temporarily leave the estate first so they could calmly make other plans. Only then did she begin anxiously weighing everything in her mind. If she simply left without caring, then after she returned to the capital, the prefect would certainly accuse her, and the empress would probably kick her while she was down. But if she forcibly suppressed the refugees, she would gain the stain of abusing imperial authority and lacking compassion. How hateful! Seeing that she had fallen into a dilemma, Song Junshin finally spoke up. Imperial elder sister seems to be caught between advancing and retreating. Why not hear my analysis and then consider cooperating with me? Instantly, she became wary and snapped, "You're scheming against me." The ninth prince looked unjustly accused and explained honestly, "My meeting with Imperial elder sister was purely accidental, and the gathering of refugees in Zhao County was also something that happened suddenly. At first, I was just like you, unaware of the overall situation. I only noticed that refugee father and son were unusual. Though they had put great effort into disguising themselves, their eyes were bright and alert, and they were full of strength. They showed none of the condition of people who had truly suffered the hardships of a wandering refugee life. On the road, Imperial elder sister was also greatly surprised when you saw the refugees. So before this happened, you surely knew nothing of it either. Your people are all loyal and would never conceal matters from you. So the only possibility is that the refugees suddenly rushed in and gathered quickly. Before your people had time to report it, Imperial elder sister had already set out from the capital. After hearing Junshin connect everything together, Qingjing finally calmed down and thought back over her journey. It was true. This afternoon, the steward had reported that a messenger had been sent out several days earlier. It's just that on the road, we encountered mountain bandits and deviated from the route we had originally planned. Hearing that, he grew serious and considered it before offering his view. So you failed to meet up with the messenger and missed the news. Imperial elder sister observed that father and son, but you never considered that perhaps this refugee uprising was all aimed at you? The more she listened, the more unsettled she became. What do you mean? Song Junshin remained perfectly composed, but his words ran deep. That father and son merely acted with the tide. If the refugees riot and the seventh princess of Nanchi suffers an unfortunate accident because of a civilian uprising, then no matter how many advantages Imperial elder sister has, they will amount to nothing. Before they could fully grasp what was happening, the refugees outside had already begun to riot. They shouted, "Everyone, charge in. The princess's estate has food. If you want to eat your fill, rush in with me. Charge in. I want food." The louder the shouting outside became, the more restless Song Qingjing grew. In the end, she had no choice but to lower herself and say, "Enough nonsense. Since you've already seen through the situation, then hurry up and state your conditions for cooperation." Song Junshin had remained calm the whole time, and even now he still had leisure to tease her. "You want my help? Fine. But from now on, when it comes to what I want to know, I hope Imperial elder sister won't hide anything. And also," the moment he said those two words, the pink-haired boy suddenly flared up and cursed. "You've gone too far." He was making such a racket that Junshin simply grabbed him by the collar, lifted him upside down, and slung him over his shoulder. The pink-haired boy struggled with all his might, but the male lead stood firm and continued discussing matters with her. "And also, Imperial elder sister and I are now grasshoppers tied to the same rope. Just don't turn around and deny knowing me once it's over." As soon as he finished speaking, he fired the signal arrow in his hand. As expected, Deputy General had long been waiting. The moment he received the signal, he set out. The border troops under Song Junshin's command rushed in and seized the refugees, causing the crowd to curse angrily. "Why are you arresting us?" "That's right." Whoever shouted too loudly was immediately grabbed by the neck by the soldiers. After the people were gathered and brought before Junshin, he coldly ordered, "Detain these two as well. The rest, register them one by one and wait to receive grain later." Outside, everything was handled single-handedly by the ninth prince. Meanwhile, the seventh princess and her people could only hide behind the door and watch. Qingjing felt a bit impressed. She thought to herself that Song Junshin had probably already formed a complete plan the moment he saw that refugee father and son. 7 years had truly made him grow into someone formidable. Speak of the devil, and the devil arrived by pushing the door open. Junshin softly reminded her, "Before the prefect comes and turns black into white, Imperial elder sister still has time to fulfill your promise." Let's start with the truth about the underground palace. Seeing him ask about this, Qing Jing was already prepared. Did an imperial younger brother and I investigate the clues in the underground palace together? Could it be that imperial younger brother wants that hoard of treasure? The moment she finished speaking, his sword was already pointed at her. The ninth prince warned in a low voice, Song Qing Jing, this time I will not show mercy. The reason Song Junshin remained so fixated on that underground palace began earlier this year, when he was still at the border and received intelligence from Master Zhao. He had still been of an age to eat and grow, yet even taking a sip of wine was interrupted by an intelligence pigeon cooing beside him. Annoyed, he grabbed the bird by the head and dragged it over, then pulled a slip of paper from beside its leg. The note read, only the royal family knows the location of the Wu clan's secret treasure. Meet in the capital in 10 days and explain in detail. Signed Zhao. And that was why the Wu clan's secret treasure had become an obsession for him. Seeing the ninth prince's sword at her throat, the seventh princess's people wanted to move. But Qing Jing remained very calm. She pushed the sword aside and said, Imperial younger brother, why become so rash all of a sudden? Since I already agreed, I naturally won't regret it. Hearing that, he withdrew his sword. She then lightly wiped the corner of her lips and began leading the way. Fat worm beside Qing Jing could not stand it and noisily cursed, You rotten brat. How dare you threaten Saint's person? Let Saint bite him to death. The seventh princess pressed down on its head while signaling it to be quiet. Through their mental link, she said to the ice silkworm, right now he is controlling the refugees, and later when I return to the capital to face the emperor, he will be the only witness who can testify for me. If you bite him to death, then even if we had 10 mouths, we still wouldn't be able to explain ourselves. Only then did Fat Worm understand and mutter unwillingly, what a bother. Just don't go telling him everything. Qing Jing also let out a sigh, but said nothing more. She led Song Junshin all the way to the back garden behind the princess's estate, then had the ice silkworm use its magic to lift the seal. Even this scene made the ninth prince sincerely impressed. It had been hidden this carefully. She opened the entrance to the secret chamber and said, Follow me. Once they had that bit of precious light, Junshin looked around as he walked and said, In the underground palace a few days ago, I saw Imperial Elder Sister was very familiar with controlling goo insects. You must have already succeeded in cultivating goo arts. Then his gaze fell on the box of goo insects she used in her cultivation. Song Qing Jing kept her word and admitted frankly, goo arts are profound, but unfortunately ordinary people all call them evil heresy. Does Imperial younger brother have anything else he wants to ask? If so, just say it plainly. Since she had given permission, Junshin could only ask honestly. Imperial Elder Sister is certainly straightforward. According to what my master said, from ancient times until now, only those with the royal bloodline of the Wu clan could cultivate the Wu family's texts and command countless insects. But I accidentally learned that the Wu clan actually has a secret treasure that allows even ordinary people to cultivate goo arts. It can even let them reach the same realm as the Wu royal family in commanding myriad insects. What I want to know is this. That snake-eye gem Imperial Elder Sister took from the mechanism tunnel in the underground palace that day, was that the legendary secret treasure? Sure enough, the moment Junshin said this, Qing Jing cried out guiltily, what? But the most overreactive one, there was Fat Worm. It viciously charged at the male lead and cursed. So you're just like those people after all. You came for the secret treasure too. Song Junshin stared at the ice silkworm and the pink-haired boy, both looking ready to rush in and start a fight. Unable to stand it any longer, Qing Jing used her spell to suspend both of them in midair and scolded, Both of you, stop it. Junshin angrily shouted, Song Qing Jing, you broke your word again. Fat Worm refused to lose either, yelling, Song Qing Jing, let Saint down. This brat is exactly like the Nanchi Emperor at the start. Nothing good at all. Those words instantly alerted Song Qing Jing as well. She cursed coldly in her heart. What do you mean exactly like the Nanchi Emperor? What do you mean nothing good at all? The ice silkworm dangled overhead, struggling and furiously shouting, Damn it, let Saint down. You ungrateful woman, foolish woman. Women like you lose your wits the moment you see a handsome man. After observing its reaction, Qing Jing silently judged in her heart that the secret treasure really did seem to hold some secret. But she had never heard it mention such a thing, nor had she seen it in the Wu family's books. So what exactly was going on? Suddenly, the side where Song Junshin stood had gone so quiet that she could not help paying attention. Sure enough, he had somehow struggled free on his own and cut through her silkworm threads. Furious, Zhuanchen rushed toward her and shouted, "Song Qingjing." In her panic, she raised her hand to block the sword point, and sure enough, he actually stopped. Startled, Song Qingjing backed away and said, "Why does this scene feel so familiar? It doesn't seem like it's only happened once or twice." He glared at her angrily and said, "Then Imperial Elder Sister should ask yourself that." The seventh princess hurriedly raised both hands in surrender and defended herself with perfect logic. Imperial Younger Brother has misunderstood. The ice silkworm suddenly lost control, so I did that to save you. But the ninth prince coldly shot back. Only a ghost would believe that, leaving her dragging out a pitiful sound in protest. In the end, Qingjing immediately put her natural acting talent to use and stammered out, "That's truly unjust. I'm all alone with little brother here in this secret chamber. Does Imperial Younger Brother really not trust me even a little?" Sure enough, that expression of hers made the other party waver. Only the fat worm kept cursing in frustration. "Stop hitting me out of affection already. Put me down, Your Excellency." In the end, it was Song Zhuanchen himself who found the snake-eye gem. Over there, Song Qingjing comforted the fat worm while slowly explaining. That underground palace was originally a relic of the Wu clan. That day, because I was badly injured, I somehow triggered a resonance between my bloodline and the hidden formation inside the palace. My Imperial Younger Brother accompanied me the whole way and also saw me mistakenly enter the secret passage. Only after breaking through the mechanisms did we come across this snake-eye gem. As for the secret treasure my Imperial Younger Brother mentioned, I truly know nothing about it. The moment she saw Zhuanchen's expression, she felt guilty and inwardly cursed herself. She had lied to him too many times before. Now that she was telling the truth, he no longer believed her. He simply tossed the gem back to her and said indifferently, "If Imperial Elder Sister has no information on the secret treasure either, then let's forget our cooperation. The day the army sets out to return to camp is near. Forgive Muchan for not being able to keep you company." But this time, the one who stopped the other party was Qingjing. Tugging at his sleeve, she murmured, "Wait, I may not have the secret treasure, but I can help Imperial Younger Brother with something else. You've devoted yourself for years, yet you're still nothing more than a minor general. Don't you want to rely on your own name and hold military power in your own hands?" Outside the princess estate, just as Song Zhuanchen had instructed, the servants of the estate began announcing, "The princess estate is distributing porridge. Register first, then you'll receive food. Everyone will get some, so line up and don't cause trouble." The pink-haired boy, Huojue, was tasked with asking where the refugees came from and recording it carefully. This elder sister is from Feng County, and so on. On the other side, servant personally stood there supervising the porridge distribution. A little girl had just received her porridge and happily carried it away to bring it to her mother. But in the chaos, she accidentally tripped and fell. Even the bowl of plain porridge she had spent half the day waiting in line for was spilled completely. Suddenly, gongs and drums sounded outside the princess estate, announcing the arrival of the county magistrate. Without saying a word, he barged in to throw his weight around, frightening the refugees into panic. "Sir, this commoner knows his mistake. Sir, please spare our family." He could not even be bothered to listen before ordering his men to seize people. But Zhao Tieju's men blocked the way, infuriating him. Servant quickly stepped forward on the princess's behalf and said, "Magistrate, these are the princess's guards. Please be lenient." That vile old man would not listen. He hurriedly said, "Miss Servant, this official heard that refugees were causing trouble here, so I personally brought men to investigate. But now it seems this is actually a good deed arranged by the seventh princess." Servant was so angry that she rushed down and scolded him. What is magistrate saying? The princess estate has only just suffered disaster. If not for Before she could finish, that nasty old official cut her off. "Enough. What the truth is will be seen later. On the way here, I heard you captured several ringleaders of the disturbance. Where are they? I want to take them back for interrogation." The moment his subordinates tried to charge in, Zhao Tieju's men kicked them back at once. He roared, "By what right?" The corrupt official frowned and said, "By the fact that this official is the magistrate of Zhao County." Just as he finished speaking, Song Qingjing appeared and said, "Well said, managing everything in Zhao County. Her sudden appearance made the old man cautious. Qing Jing calmly provoked him. Could it be that this princess, too, is someone the magistrate wants the imperial clan court to deal with? Qing Jing said sharply, the way the magistrate has managed Zhao County into this state really is a great blessing for its people. The shameless old official actually replied, Your Highness overpraises me. On the contrary, I feel that only after Your Highness came to Zhao County did this place become brighter than ever and fortune follow one after another. Deputy General Zhao had too much free time and started gossiping. Are those two actually praising each other? Why does it sound wrong to me? The soldiers were just as slow-witted, and one scratched his head and said, I don't get it either. Only after a while did the official gather his subordinates and try to use his authority to suppress her. Seventh Princess, what happened at the princess estate last night can be set aside for now. Right now, this office is only here to arrest the ringleader who gathered the refugees and caused unrest. Yet the princess refuses to hand him over. Could it be that there is some collusion between the princess and these refugees that cannot be made known, which is why you dare not let this office take them? His words were extremely damaging, and because of that, Song Qingjing no longer intended to remain polite. She snapped back with her own reasoning. Ridiculous. There was turmoil all night yesterday. Where was anyone then? But now that one refugee has been caught, the magistrate rushes over demanding people. Doesn't that make you even more suspicious? Besides, if the magistrate wants those people, you shouldn't be looking for me. You should be looking for General Mu. His men were the ones who captured them. Following her introduction, Song Junshin stepped forward. Sure enough, the official immediately demanded to know this man's identity. With a hint of disdain, Junshin gave a brief introduction. Garrison commander of Border Camp 43, Assistant General Mu Chun. He was a full 5th rank assistant general, naturally one rank above this old fox of an official who was only a subordinate 5th rank prefect. The old man's face turned black with anger. He thought to himself that this was actually the frontier garrison army that His Majesty had summoned back to the capital for reward. How could it be such a coincidence? Just as promised, Junshin truly stepped forward to testify for Qing Jing. He solemnly said, half true and half false. Last night, while passing Zhao County, I saw flames rising to the sky and refugees gathered outside, so I brought men to help. I see that the magistrate's view and the princess's view are in conflict. Then let the people my men captured be interrogated personally by my side. That way, the results will be the fairest. The magistrate surely has no objections, correct? This act of the Song's siblings pretending not to know each other was so convincing that the crafty old official was left speechless. He conceded, saying, of course, it would be best if the general handles it. Behind her back, Qing Jing secretly gave Junshin a thumbs up, praising him for a job well done. But before this matter had settled, another problem arose. That night, in the refugee tents, someone suddenly fell ill in the middle of the night. The news immediately reached the 7th princess. Startled, she asked, a fever so severe they fainted? Is it only this one person? The maid responsible for gathering information carefully reported, not just one. Including him, there are 3 or 4 in total. Even the physicians don't know the cause. Qing Jing had a headache, but she still had to hurry and arrange matters. Move those with fevers aside first, then invite 2 physicians to examine all the others as well. Tell them to be extra careful while examining people. If this turns out to be some contagious disease, don't let them become infected too. When Song Junshin came over late at night, he saw that maid hurrying out and immediately sensed something was wrong. So he came to ask her what had happened. The 7th princess did not hide it from him and told him, several of the refugees have fallen sick one after another. High fevers and unconsciousness. I had servant invite a few physicians to take a look. As the 9th prince sat down, he thought for a moment and said, could it be a plague? At his words, her face turned pale and she cried out helplessly, heavens protect us. Let it be anything but that. Sit for now. I still have a few account books left to check. Song Junshin obediently sat there, drinking tea while waiting for her to finish. But then, for some reason, A flower petal drifted past his eyes and floated straight toward the seventh princess, who was seriously studying the books. At that instant, her figure was carved deep into his heart. At the same time, a scene surfaced before him. By a lotus pond, she and he sat together in intimate affection, drinking and enjoying the moment. Suddenly, the voice calling Song Junshin overlapped between dream and reality, weaving together so thoroughly that he could not distinguish them for a moment. Only when he saw Qingjing's slender hand waving in front of him did he snap back to himself. She waved her hand before his eyes and laughed. "How did you fall asleep sitting up?" Only after realizing it did Junshin discover that he really had fallen asleep sitting there for a full 4 hours. Embarrassed, he held his flushed face and made the excuse that he was simply used to army schedules. After finishing her work, Qingjing poured him tea and finally brought up the real matter. "Now that we can be considered partners, shouldn't you also tell me what you've gone through these past few years? Back then, Xiang Qinyin only said he would help me get you out of the palace. He never said he would send you into the army." At the sudden mention of this, Song Junshin let out a laugh and mocked. "Xiang Qinyin? He wasn't that kind-hearted. If I hadn't run to the frontier camp myself, I would have lost my life long ago." Hearing this horrifying truth, Qingjing was startled and exclaimed, "What?" She truly wanted to know where that hateful Xiang Qinyin had taken her ninth younger brother back then. But Song Junshin did not continue. Leaning close to her ear, he whispered, as agreed, "After Imperial Elder Sister helps me return to the palace and seize military power, I'll tell you everything. We leave in 3 days. Imperial Elder Sister should prepare early." Qingjing, seeing him urge her on, indignantly snapped, "But the refugee matter still hasn't been settled. Judging from today, there may even be an epidemic. All these things need time to deal with." But it seemed he had already arranged everything. He told her to leave Deputy General Zhao and servant behind to handle the refugee affairs together. "It is precisely because there may be an epidemic that we must set out early. We need to return to the palace quickly and report everything clearly so the palace can send imperial physicians experienced in treating outbreaks. That is the best solution." Then he added, "Song Qingjing, not everything can be solved by relying solely on yourself." Suddenly being lectured by her younger brother after he had grown up, she felt a little sullen and said, "But in the past, I always handled everything alone." Thinking about it, why exactly had he come to see her today? Early the next morning, Zhao Taiju brought men to knock on General Junshin's door. "Has your excellency gotten up yet? The magistrate has sent someone to invite you to the yamen." "General? General, are you in there?" It was noisy outside, but no one knew that inside, the ninth prince had been running a fever all night, and strange marks had appeared all over his body. Meanwhile, at the Zhao County Yamen, the old fox's subordinate had already rushed back to report, "Master, it's absolutely true. This lowly one saw with his own eyes that little general fell sick and passed out." The moment he heard the man had fallen ill, the old official smiled with great satisfaction and viciously cursed Song Qingjing. "The heavens truly want you dead this time." Then he waved his hand and gave the order, "You, take men and surround the princess estate. We cannot allow the seventh princess to spread the epidemic like this and endanger the people of Zhao County." Ha ha ha. At the same time, at the princess estate, Song Qingjing insisted on going over to Song Junshin's side. Servant, worried, tried to stop her. "Princess, you mustn't. What if you get infected too?" But she ignored everything. The moment she rushed in, she asked, "How is he now?" Zhao Taiju, who had been standing guard beside the male lead the whole time, hurriedly reported, "He still won't wake up, and it seems he's getting hotter and hotter." Qingjing anxiously asked, "Where are the physicians? What did they say?" Servant replied nervously, "The physicians who came these past 2 days to examine the refugees have also fallen sick. Now, no one is willing to see patients anymore. The moment they hear it's our princess estate, they all run away." Qingjing showed no sign of disgust. She tightly grasped Junshin's hand, carefully examined the strange marks on his body, and asked, "Is there still ice in the estate?" When servant said there was a little left in the cellar, she ordered at once, "Bring all of it here. Lower General Mu's fever first." Junshin's life was still in danger, and before they could even save him, servant brought Qingjing another headache-inducing piece of news. "Princess, there's one more thing. The Yamen has just sent people to fence in our estate. They say it's to prevent the disease from spreading, so they're sealing it off and forbidding anyone to enter or leave." After a burst of anger, Qingjing calmed herself and said, "That bastard Jiruhai, forget it, let him in." After handing the ice to the deputy general so he could help lower Song Junshin's fever, the seventh princess wanted to personally inspect the sick refugees. Even though servant reminded her how dangerous it was, Song Qingjing still covered her face with a veil, put on gloves, and examined them one by one herself. The ice silkworm, accompanying her, carefully said, "This saint cannot smell any aura of goo insects." As she removed her gloves, Qingjing said distrustfully, "But these are clearly the symptoms described in the Wu clan texts." And so one person and one worm began bickering noisily. This saint can't be mistaken. If not, then choose one person and let them take the medicine that expels goo insects and see what happens, the ice silkworm suggested. How can I do that? If it isn't goo poison, then that medicine itself is a deadly toxin. Qingjing refused. In the end, the fat worm had no choice but to ask, "Then what do we do now?" Just as she was getting a splitting headache, Icy Beauty rushed in and reported, "Princess, some nearby townspeople have laid hands on the refugees. They were caught by General Mu's subordinates. Do you want to go take a look?" The seventh princess, exhausted, rubbed her head and cursed. Mortals are such a nuisance. One thing hasn't ended before another begins. The moment she appeared, she heard loud cries. "Your Highness the Princess, you must uphold justice for us. It was them. They made my old mother so sick she can't even get out of bed. They clearly knew there was an epidemic and still wandered around. Isn't that harming people?" The refugee, hearing this, burst into tears and snot and cried, "I'm not sick. Princess, please see clearly. This commoner was only going to fetch medicine for my elderly mother. On the road, this man suddenly came over and started pushing me around. I've truly been wronged." Sure enough, the commotion stirred up the people of Zhao County as well. That's right, the Yamen already said they're sick. My little boy is sick too. He's taken so much medicine and still hasn't woken up. Who knows where these refugees came from? Why didn't they stay where they belonged? We're really unlucky, ending up mixed together with them. With 9 people giving 10 opinions and the clamor becoming unbearable, Qingjing angrily shouted, "Enough! Is this your excuse for injuring someone else?" That Zhao County commoner had not even managed a single word before she scolded him pale, framing others and shifting blame. If your mother is ill, then at a time like this you should be at home taking care of her. Instead, you're wandering outside using it as an excuse to assault others? What evidence do you have that this person caused your mother's illness? What evidence do you have that they intentionally spread disease? You're only dissatisfied and looking for someone to vent your anger on. All of you are subjects of Nanchi. This palace does not wish to see all of you harming one another so unreasonably ever again. As for this illness, I will personally investigate it and give everyone an explanation. During this period, all the sick will be brought to the princess estate for care. As for everyone else, bathe thoroughly every day and fumigate with mugwort to avoid infection. Disperse. That night, even after the fat worm had rolled over and fallen asleep, Qingjing was still reading by candlelight. She stared at the words flame leaf blight. The symptoms read, death within 7 days. With a headache, she thought bitterly, what exactly is wrong here? Just as she was at her wit's end, servants suddenly pushed the door open and rushed in. "Princess, General Mu is awake." She hurried over and saw the deputy general caring for him. "General, drink a little water." Qingjing hastily began questioning this hypotential patient. "How do you feel? Is your chest burning hot and your head swollen? And whenever your body temperature rises, you lose consciousness. Is that right?" Junshin said with difficulty, "That's right. Since you understand it so well, have you already found a cure?" Seeing that she still seemed hesitant, he asked, "What is it?" The seventh princess answered honestly. "The Wu clan texts record a kind of goo called flame leaf blight. The symptoms are like a fever, but without chills. Red rashes appear below the neck like a cold-induced rash. The more sweating and redness there is, the hotter the body becomes, and the pulse quickens. It's very similar to your current symptoms. But if you haven't been afflicted by goo, then the medicine that expels goo would be a deadly poison." "I can't." Before she could finish, he hurriedly cut her off. "It's fine. Just use it on me." Seeing that she was still hesitant, Song Junshin looked at her seriously and said, "I trust you." "Song Qingjing, you've never failed before, have you?" But his condition suddenly worsened again, and she could not just stand by. The seventh princess immediately ordered Chuaji to take her prescription and hurry to the pharmacy to fetch the medicine. A few days later, at the imperial court in the capital, Zhu Rahai was already trying to accuse Song Qingjing before the throne. "Your Majesty, Her Highness the Princess forcibly took in refugees at her estate, causing the epidemic to spread unchecked. The seventh princess feared that if news reached Your Majesty's ears, she would be blamed, so she refused to allow this subject to request reinforcements. But what crime have the people of Zhao County committed? Countless people are dying there now. Those citizens had originally lived peaceful and stable lives. Yet instead they were harmed until they became refugees. Your Majesty, I beg you to save the people of Zhao County." The old fox made a racket right there in the main hall. "Your Majesty, please save the people of Zhao County." Yet the emperor kept a cold face and said, "Where is the Minister of Justice?" Suddenly, another court official who looked far more trustworthy stepped forward and said, "Your Majesty, calm your anger. Regarding the epidemic in Zhao County, this subject has something to say." With the emperor's permission, he reported sternly, "If we rely only on Magistrate Zhu's one-sided account and immediately throw the seventh princess into prison, that would inevitably be somewhat biased. In this subject's opinion, it will be better to hear from the person involved as well." Shun General's words startled the emperor, while Zhu Ruhai stiffened all over. Sure enough, Song Qingjing immediately appeared and announced, "The seventh princess seeks an audience." "This daughter greets, Father Emperor." Inwardly, she was already sneering. "Old bastard Zhu Ruhai, you're dead today." Her appearance also enraged the emperor. Grinding his teeth, he barked at Zhu Ruhai, "According to your words, the seventh princess should be in Zhao County right now, wreaking havoc there. Why then is she still in the capital? You had better give me an explanation." Before the old fox could say a word, she hurriedly knelt and said, "Father Emperor, if this daughter had not rushed back to the capital day and night, I fear I would not even have had a chance to explain myself and would have been thrown straight into prison." Hearing that, Zhu Ruhai jumped up to defend himself. "The seventh princess has a sharp tongue. She can call black white. Has Her Highness not forcibly taken in refugees? Has Zhao County not suffered an epidemic? Have the people not suffered?" Qingjing was no less forceful. "Father Emperor, though those refugees were not natives of Zhao County, they're still subjects of Nanchi. As your daughter, I took them in and arranged for them. I truly do not know where I was wrong. These refugees have been wandering for a long time. It is only normal that they would contract disease. This daughter had long since made proper preparations, intending only to contain the epidemic within the princess estate and resolve it there. But Minister Zhu, aside from coming at the start to throw his weight around, never once visited the refugees. When the people grew unsettled, he did not comfort them. Instead, he was the first to abandon the city and run. At first, I thought Minister Zhu had gone to seek aid. Only now do I learn that he entered the palace to falsely accuse me. As soon as she finished, she took out a booklet and said seriously, "Every word this daughter has spoken is supported by the fingerprints of the people of Zhao County." I asked Father Emperor to judge clearly. This booklet of fingerprints had been obtained partly because Deputy General Zhao Taizhu had intimidated people into giving them, though there were also refugees whom Song Qingjing had saved who willingly pressed their marks. After reviewing everything, the emperor grew so furious that he crumpled the paper in his hand and cursed, "Outrageous! He dared deceive the throne, throw Zhu Ruhai into the imperial prison for me." Only then did the man know fear. He kowtowed repeatedly and begged, "Your Majesty, spare me, spare my life." But no matter how much he pleaded, he was dragged away. The emperor, with a headache, gave a slight wave of his hand to signal that court was dismissed. Suddenly, Qingjing chirped happily, "Father Emperor, this daughter still has one private matter to discuss with you alone." That was why they arranged to meet in the imperial garden. The moment he saw that she had brought someone with her, the emperor's sharp eyes immediately asked, "Who is this?" He felt the young man looked somewhat familiar, but he simply could not remember. The other party then respectfully reported, "Border Garrison Camp 43, Vice General Mu Chun, pays respects to your Majesty." As soon as he said that, Qingjing immediately followed the script they had prepared. "Imperial brother, I already told you, Father Emperor, this is 9th Imperial Brother Zhunshin. On my way to Zhao County, I encountered danger midway. Fortunately, the border garrison came to my aid. Back when 9th Imperial Brother and I spent quite a long time together in the Cold Palace. I recognized him as soon as I saw him. But for some reason, 9th Imperial Brother seems to have lost his memory and insists that he is a border general named Mu Chun. The moment he heard her say that, the emperor cried out in agitation, "What?" Just then, consort dowager Shen suddenly appeared and said gently, "Your Majesty, what brings you to the imperial garden today in such elegant spirits? Qing Jing has returned as well, and the child beside you is." The seventh princess introduced him once more to consort dowager Shen. After hearing it, she nodded thoughtfully and sighed. "So that's how it is. Come to think of it, when your Majesty first sent the ninth prince to the northern border to recuperate, that place truly was not far from the border army's encampment." The moment consort dowager Shun said this, Qing Jing gasped. "The northern border? Xiang Qinan sent Song Juanshin to that harsh place? He was only a child back then. How could he have survived?" After that, consort dowager Shun said with some caution, "But we still cannot definitively say that this child is Juanshin. After all, a prince going missing is a major matter. The prince's residence could not possibly have failed to report it." The moment she finished speaking, both the seventh princess and the emperor understood inwardly. No, they absolutely could have. Qing Jing frowned and thought to herself that Song Juanshin had originally been an unfavored prince from the Cold Palace. With the mountains high and the emperor far away, the stewards of the prince's residence might not have cared for him properly at all. If something happened, they could easily have tried to cover it up. The emperor softly asked the young man, "Do you truly remember nothing?" He answered honestly, "This subject only remembers what happened after I was taken in by the border army." Hearing this, consort dowager Shun proposed an excellent idea. "This is easy to settle. Your Majesty, if you test the blood, won't you know at once whether he is truly your Majesty's bloodline?" Since it was indeed a good suggestion, the tools were promptly brought out. Both the emperor and Juanshin solemnly let their blood drip. The moment the blood in the bowl merged into one, the emperor smiled in immense satisfaction, thinking to himself, "Bui Tiantian, this child is actually my son." Ridiculous. Truly ridiculous. Consort dowager Shen also smiled faintly, as though enjoying an excellent drama. Sure enough, in the next instant the emperor said happily, "Jing'er, you've done very well. You brought your younger brother back and did not let the imperial bloodline drift among the common people." She joyfully replied, "This is only what Qing Jing ought to do." But before she could be pleased for long, the emperor delivered shocking news. "What happened in Zhao County must have exhausted you. I will send people to look into it. Go back and rest." A few days ago, the crown prince of northern Qin sent a letter ahead. In a few days, he will arrive in Nanqi to fulfill the marriage pact from those years. You and Man Jiao should both prepare yourselves." Qing Jing jolted in alarm and cried out, "Xiang Qinan? He's coming." After they returned, consort dowager Shen asked curiously, "Where did you find that boy? The way he looks at you seems a little off. Don't tell me he's some sweetheart you kept in the military camp?" She hurriedly swore honestly, "Your ladyship must be joking. He really is the genuine ninth prince." How could Qing Jing dare impersonate a prince? Hearing that, the consort dowager said with interest, "Then how come I never knew you and the ninth prince were so close, to the point that you specially came to ask me to help you out?" Speaking of this, she truly had asked Aunt Qin Tan to pass a letter into the consort dowager's hands. As Qing Jing offered tea, she said cheerfully, "The ninth prince and I grew up together in the Cold Palace, so naturally our bond is a bit better than others. This time, both Imperial Brother and I were able to return to the palace thanks to your ladyship and Shun General's help. Qing Jing naturally will not forget this. If I am ever fortunate enough in the future to be of service to your ladyship, I will not refuse." Consort dowager Shun said in satisfaction, "It's good that you have such intentions. But no matter who he really is, in name the two of you are now blood brother and sister. From now on, you must both remain above reproach and avoid giving others something to gossip about. Do you understand?" After thanking her and leaving, she listened all the way as her maid chattered on. "Princess, you and Sister Chiruji were gone for so long you nearly scared this servant to death. We've had such bad luck this year. Shouldn't we go worship the Buddha?" But Song Qingjing's thoughts were entirely elsewhere. Getting Song Juanshin past the Shun family's scrutiny should not be a major problem. The real trouble now was Xiang Qinan. He had surely already secured northern Qin firmly in his grasp. She needed to pay closer attention to northern Qin's movements. She had barely finally enjoyed a moment of peace before sixth princess, Song-Manjiao, blocked her way. With all the swagger of someone bullying the weak, she lectured her. Song Qingjing, I heard you caused quite a few scandals in your fief, yet you still have the face to return to the palace. Qingjing inwardly cursed in annoyance. So tiring. She absolutely did not feel like wasting energy dealing with this idiot right now. So she ordered Ice Silkworm to call over 500 of his brothers in charge. Sure enough, a swarm of hornets came rushing in and scared the sixth princess pale. Quick, drive them away. Hurry. Qingjing lightly passed through the chaotic crowd and politely said, Greetings, sixth sister. Please carry on with your business. Qingjing will take her leave first. Right now, she only wished all her opponents were as stupid as Song-Manjiao. At the same time, in the imperial study, the representative from the prince's residence trembled as he reported, according to the criminals from the prince's residence, 6 years ago his highness had already gone missing. Those servants feared punishment, so they kept it hidden and never reported it. They even embezzled the prince's residence expenses over the past few years. The emperor could not bear listening anymore and ordered the man dragged away. He instantly struggled and shouted, Your Majesty, spare me. Next time I will definitely supervise strictly. Spare me just this once. But no matter how much he begged, the emperor still furiously cursed, Useless trash, the lot of you. Only then did Song Junshin speak. Your Majesty, Father Emperor, do not be angered over such trifles. Up above, the emperor quietly observed him and thought to himself, this child managed to struggle on alone until now, so he does have some ability. And now he has forgotten what happened to his mother. The way he looks at me no longer carries the hostility it once did. Perhaps this child may still prove useful in the future. After calculating everything thoroughly, he finally asked with easy warmth, I have already heard that although you are young, your military merits are outstanding, far surpassing many of your elder brothers. After so many years outside, and only now returning, do you have any wish? Determined to play his role to the end, Song Junshin said, This subject, your son, has spent many years campaigning outside and truly is somewhat unaccustomed to life in the palace. Moreover, under my command there are still thousands of soldiers in need of training. I ask Father Emperor to allow your son to return to the border army and continue protecting the land of Nanchi. Those words pleased the emperor greatly, so he immediately had people make arrangements. That is no problem. I will transfer troops to the capital and form them into your personal guard. As for your discomfort with palace life, then I will allow you to move out of the palace and establish your own residence. When your eldest brother was your age, he already had an estate of his own. Thus the imperial decree was issued. By the mandate of heaven, the emperor decrees. The ninth prince, Song Junshin, has rendered meritorious service defending the border and has achieved distinction at a young age. He is hereby granted the title Ning, and a Prince Ning residence shall be built for him. He shall receive the stipend of a first-rank prince. In addition, he is awarded 100 taels of gold, 100 rolls of brocade, 10 sets of fine jade, with rewards pouring down without stint. The prince's residence was soon completed, and celebratory fireworks were set off with deafening enthusiasm. At last came the day of Junshin's housewarming banquet. After he had dressed neatly, a servant came to report, Your Highness, the guests have all arrived. He softly asked, Has the seventh princess arrived as well? The servant honestly replied, Yes, and she also brought gifts from Shan General. Song Junshin nodded in satisfaction. Then let's go. How could I let Imperial Sister wait for me? But the moment he stepped outside, he was surrounded by people congratulating him from every side. Congratulations, Your Highness Prince Ning. Congratulations, Your Highness. Among that crowd, he truly found Song Qingjing's figure at once. At last the wine banquet came to an end. Lazily, she strolled with him by the lotus pond and complained a little petulantly. Why did you put me in the seat of honor so early on? It made me drink quite a lot. Junshin smiled and said, At a banquet for opening a prince's residence, of course Imperial Sister had to take the chief seat to keep up appearances. As she idly played with a flower, she said in a somewhat gloomy voice, A minor daughter of a concubine like me, even a fifth-rank official like Zhu Rahai dares put on airs before me. What appearances am I supposed to keep? Looking at her flushed face, Junshin thought to himself that she really had drunk too much. Still, he seriously spoke with her. Zhu Rahai has already been punished. Besides, doesn't Xiang Qinan like you very much? You're about to become the favored consort of Northern Qin. What is there to fear in the future? The moment she heard that, Qing Jing became displeased and lightly crushed the flower petals in her fingers. Noticing her unusual movement, he asked curiously, "You don't want to marry?" Sure enough, in the next instant the seventh princess slammed her cup down and cursed. "I never wanted to marry him. Otherwise, why would I have pushed Song Manjiao forward back then? Xiang Qinan is damned, so young, yet he already wants to enjoy conjugal bliss. Scum." As soon as she finished speaking, Junshin gripped her face and said seriously, "Then I'll get rid of him for you." Those words only made Qing Jing angrier, and she slapped the table as she shouted, "Don't talk nonsense." But Junshin remained perfectly calm as he commented, "If he dies, Northern Qin will be like a tiger without a head. Internal chaos will erupt, and you'll be able to escape the marriage alliance too. Wouldn't that kill two birds with one stone? So, you still can't bear it." Their entire noisy conversation had been secretly observed and overheard by someone lurking nearby. Sure enough, Song Junshin's youthful appearance was extremely eye-catching. The moment he went out onto the street that day, the young ladies immediately began asking, "Who is that?" "That's the ninth prince who just returned from the border. A few days ago, he was granted the title Prince Ning. Who knows how many girls in the capital now dream of him as their ideal lover." Junshin had only just pushed the door open when someone threw himself forward to hug him. "Your Highness, oh no, I should be calling you Prince now." He smiled faintly and said, "Master Zhao, you've finally returned to the capital." That man began speaking seriously. "That your Highness could return to the palace so quickly truly was beyond my expectations. According to our plan, it should have taken at least another 2 years before you could return to the capital." Without hiding anything, he replied, "It was Song Qingjing's plan. To make sure nothing went wrong, before returning to the palace, she prepared every measure in advance." He recalled how, at that time, she had handed him Song Manjiao's blood. Qing Jing had poured the sixth princess's blood into a fish bladder and hidden it in Junshin's palm, then covered it with artificial human skin. During the blood test for recognition, he only had to break the blood pouch in his palm while letting his blood mix with the emperor's, and the plan would certainly succeed. Master Zhao also nodded and said, "That really was foolproof. We still haven't uncovered the truth about what happened to Lady Zhaoi back then. We still don't know who your Highness's biological father is." Junshin said coldly, "No matter what the truth is, it won't change the fact that Mother Consort was sent to Northern Qin." Master Zhao said with pain, "Lady Zhaoi truly suffered greatly." Not wanting to continue the topic, Junshin gently cut him off. "Master Zhao, since you came to the capital this time, I assume you know that the Northern Qin Crown Prince's delegation is about to arrive." The moment he heard that the Northern Qin delegation would enter the city in 2 days, Junshin's eyes turned several degrees colder, and he said, "How about we take action before Xiang Qinan enters the palace?" Before he could finish, Master Zhao was so frightened by the murderous aura around him that he cried out, "Your Highness, what are you saying? If Xiang Qinan dies, the power struggle in Northern Qin's court will certainly be thrown wide open, and the people we worked so hard to plant there will be dragged into it as well. If your Highness acts on his own and gets hurt, what then? Besides, the Crown Prince of Northern Qin is here on a diplomatic visit. You've always been cautious these past few years, so why suddenly suggest something this risky today?" The room was too noisy, so Song Junshin lightly rubbed his forehead and said, "I know, I was only joking. If Seventh Sister were here, she would have beaten me long ago for acting so recklessly." Meanwhile, in Feng County, the hometown of the refugees who had wandered into Zhao County, Zhao Taizhu and Weia had disguised themselves and come to investigate. The deputy general said quietly, "There really isn't a single person here. I wonder whether Miss Qiuji and the others in Zhao County can handle it. This mutated parasite sounds far too terrifying." The two of them stayed on guard and remarked, "Her Highness the Princess left behind a treatment formula, so there shouldn't be any problem. Feng County is only a dozen or so li from Zhao County. It's clearly much closer to go south to Yangzhou City for help. If you say no one led them north, I don't believe it." The moment he saw the black smoke, Weia sighed, "Are they setting off fireworks or what?" The strange disturbance immediately caught both their attention, and they hurried off to investigate. After tracking it down, Weia secretly observed the place and thought this is probably where the mutated parasites were developed. Those villagers must have been infected after the parasites spread and latched onto them. They only made it to Zhao County for a few days before the symptoms broke out. But Zhao Taizhu noticed something else and said softly, This looks a lot like the old mountain bandit stronghold the general destroyed before. Hearing that, Weah examined the place more carefully before concluding, just the two of us won't be enough. Send a message back first, and let the princess decide what to do. When no one answered, he turned in surprise. Of all people, he had run right into that refugee boy he had chased before. The brat slammed hard into the deputy general's leg and said, "Long time no see. I didn't get revenge last time, but this time I'm taking your life." Zhao Taizhu realized things were bad and urged Weah to run first, but the other side suddenly drew a weapon. At the same time, outside the capital of Nanxi, the crown prince of northern Qin had safely entered the city. From a distance, the emperor of Nanxi was already somewhat wary and said quietly, "Between northern Qin and Nanxi, who is strong and who is weak, who prospers and who declines? Xiang Qinan has not even become emperor yet, and he already stands on equal footing with me." General Shun softly replied, "Your Majesty must not belittle yourself." Just as he stepped down, the announcement came. "The crown prince of northern Qin seeks an audience." Xiang Qinan laughed. "How could I trouble your majesty to personally come welcome me like this?" The emperor only asked whether the crown prince's journey had gone smoothly. Qinan answered with perfect propriety. "Everything went smoothly. Thank you for your majesty's concern." Then, out of the crowd, for some reason, he noticed Song Zhuanxin and casually asked, "And this is?" The emperor happily introduced him. "My youngest son, Prince Ning. I assume Crown Prince. You haven't met him before?" And so the two had no choice but to greet each other. "Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Your Highness Prince Ning." But no matter how he looked at it, Xiang Qinan was unhappy. He thought, there's no mistake. It's Song Zhuanxin who brought him back. Meanwhile, at Yinyan Tower in Yangzhou City, the place was as lively as ever, full of lovely young women. Of course, there was also no shortage of rich young masters causing trouble. "Tell Shenyang to come out." "That's right, we want to see Shenyang." The madam hurried over, lifting her skirts as she went. "Who is it, young masters? Why, are we not enough for you? Lady Shan says she isn't receiving guests. Please don't make things difficult for me." The one making the biggest scene was Su Zian, the legitimate son of the Yangzhou prefect. Furious, he cursed, "You old hag, do you really think I wouldn't smash your Yinyan Tower to pieces?" Men, just as they were about to make an even bigger fuss, a young woman like a heavenly fairy arrived. In a soft voice she sighed, "Young master, if you smash this place, then you won't be able to see me anymore." She was Shun Mir, the famed courtesan of Yangzhou, and the very woman those young masters had been demanding to see. The moment they saw her, everyone was entranced. "Mir, you finally come out." The young woman yawned and asked boredly, "Go on, smash it then. Why haven't you started yet?" Young Master Su immediately lost some of his nerve and hurriedly explained, "I was just joking. I heard you weren't feeling well today. Do you want me to call the physician from my household to take a look at you?" Shinmir said with obvious dislike, "You knew that, yet you still made a racket here. My head was already splitting with pain, and now it feels even worse." Unwilling to give up, Su Zian pointed at the madam and complained pitifully, "I came to visit you, but this old hag kept stopping me. How infuriating." "Mir, do you still remember the poetry gathering in 7 days? I made a date with you for it last month." She blinked at him sweetly and said, "Of course I remember, you rogue." The men were instantly enchanted. Good. Then we won't disturb your rest anymore." As soon as she entered the room, Shunmir furiously scolded the madam. "Do I have to handle everything myself? Am I the brothel mistress? Or are you? You useless woman." The madam hastily explained, "Miss, how was I supposed to stop young Master Su? I was nearly beaten." They were still arguing when she suddenly heard a sound and became highly alert. "Who's there?" Outside the window, Weah came flying and carrying Zhao Blockhead. The two of them then collapsed flat on the floor, frightening Shinmir so badly that she rushed over to help them up. Weah! Realizing it was serious, the madam hurriedly stood guard. Using the last of his strength, Weah whispered to Mir, "Inform the princess." Foam County. At that moment, the 7th princess was still leisurely sitting under the moon. It was only when the maid beside her ran out and said, "Princess, autumn is almost here. The nights are very cold. If you keep waiting outside like this, you'll catch a chill," that she finally stirred. Song Qingjing looked at the ice silkworm sleeping heavily on her shoulder and said softly, What is there to fear? Nights in northern Qin are much colder than this, and I still came through them, didn't I? Her dim-witted maid asked blankly. What do you mean? Can northern Qin's cold really travel all the way to Nanchi? Does the weather know how to run too? As Qing Jing gazed at the moon, she said, of course. Everything in this world moves with the wind. As for whether one goes from northern Qin to Nanchi, or from Nanchi to northern Qin, that depends on how the winds of this world blow. The silly maid thought to herself, what is the princess talking about? Why can't I understand a single word? Meanwhile, in the imperial palace, at the residence of northern Qin's crown prince Xiang Qinan, after hearing his subordinate report about Song Junshin, he frowned and ordered, have you all lost your minds? Someone, send a letter to the imperial preceptor. Ask him when the great national protection right can be activated. It must be done quickly. Xiang Qinan guarded himself inwardly and thought, Song Junshin, this time I won't let you threaten northern Qin again. At Yinyan Tower in Yangzhou, inside the famed courtesan Shen Mier's room, while Wu Ya was unconscious, she kept curiously touching his face. When her hand reached his chest, he finally reacted, which delighted her. So you're awake? Though Wu Ya made his dislike plain, she still rubbed herself all over him and said, I was worried sick about you. Unable to bear it any longer, Wu Ya said, Mir, you dropped something. The beautiful woman leaned her face close and asked, Chem? Dropped what? For some reason, Wu Ya pointed downward at the suspicious object and said only one word, chest. Sure enough, in the next second she frowned and cursed. How annoying. As Wu Ya put on his clothes, he sighed. After all these years, how on earth had she still managed not to be found out as a man? But the cold beauty was still focused on business and asked, what did the princess say? The madam brought in medicine and said worriedly, why are you already getting dressed? Take it off. You still need medicine applied. Shin Mi combed his hair as she said, the princess told us to put this matter aside for now and head to the capital first to support her. The moment they heard that, both Wu Ya and the madam cried out in shock. The capital? Could it be? In an instant, the famed courtesan Shin Mi had changed into men's clothing. The moment he appeared, he said excitedly, that's right, our seventh princess finally intends to dig a pit. It was now the time of the autumn hunt, so Song Junshin had also arrived at the imperial hunting grounds. Suddenly Xiang Qinan approached, somewhat curious. Your Highness Prince Ning, what are you looking at? Hearing that, Junshin put on a straight face and replied, nothing. But after following the direction Junshin had been looking, the crown prince of northern Qin saw the seventh princess. Amused, he remarked, I heard Prince Ning and the seventh princess are very close. Sticking to the script, Song Junshin said, Imperial sister saved me from a living hell. Naturally, I am grateful. Sure enough, whenever Qinan smiled, nothing good followed. The crown prince of northern Qin suddenly said, then Prince Ning surely wouldn't refuse to escort the two princesses to northern Qin, would he? Seeing the faint shock on Prince Ning's face, the crown prince kindly elaborated. The road from Nanchi to northern Qin is difficult. His Majesty and I have already discussed it. If someone were to escort Qing Jing and Manjiao, naturally that would be for the best. His Majesty immediately thought of Prince Ning, and I also feel you are the most suitable person. Song Junshin's hand had already tightened around the reins, but he still maintained courtesy and said, if it is Father Emperor's command, then I can only obey. Only when the horn announcing the start of the autumn hunt sounded did that hateful Xiang Qinan finally turn and leave. Before going, he did not forget to provoke him. Prince Ning, the hunt has begun. I'll be going on ahead. With all the fire of love and hate burning in his chest, Song Junshin went on a frenzied hunt. Because of that, several unlucky wild boars became the targets of his fury. 1 Xiang Qinan, 2 Xiang Qinan-S, 3 Xiang Qinan-S. At last, night fell and the bonfires were lit. Outside the seventh princess's tent, Song Junshin softly asked, Imperial sister, do you have a moment? She softly replied, what is it, Imperial brother? When he asked, is Imperial sister really about to leave for northern Qin? She did not answer in her usual mechanical way. Of course, I have waited for this moment for 7 years. In my youth and ignorance, I caused ninth brother to be sent to northern Qin to suffer. I have always felt uneasy about it. Now that you've returned, one burden on my heart is finally gone. I can go marry with peace of mind. As if he had realized something, Junshin hurriedly ended the conversation. Understand. Rest assured, Imperial sister. Sure enough, something inside the tent was not right. What was wrong was the appearance of the crown prince of northern Qin. As Xiang Qinan toyed with her hair, he said, "After 7 years apart, Jing'er has grown even more beautiful." His sudden appearance frightened even the 7th princess's maid. And sure enough, in the end, Song Juanchen personally saw Xiang Qinan walk out of the 7th princess's tent. After that, he immediately went in himself and asked, "What was that man doing here?" Song Qingjing had not even spoken yet when her maid burst out in grievance, almost as if chanting, "One man just left, and now another little brother has arrived. Your Highness Prince Ning, don't tell me you stayed outside waiting the whole time. What do we do? If anyone finds out the princess met the crown prince of northern Qin at night, what will happen to her reputation?" "Sister Chueji, I'm so useless. I failed your trust." Playing with her hair, Qing Jing said, "He came and made me many promises. He even said that once he ascends the throne, he'll make me noble consort. Clearly my previous life. Clearly he wasn't like this." Song Juanchen did not seem to notice the strangeness in her words and seriously asked, "There's only 1 month left before departure. Do you have a plan?" The 7th princess frowned lightly and said, "Of course I do. When the time comes, I only ask that your Highness Prince Ning neither interfere nor ask questions." Unable to hold back, he reached out and touched her hair, lowering his voice as he asked, "Then in the future, will we still meet again?" His intimate gesture made her somewhat flustered, and she softly called, "Song Juanchen." Somewhere else, Song Manjiao kept throwing a fit and crying, "Mother, I want to take that girl Song Qingjing to northern Qin with me. She's too troublesome." The empress said helplessly, "This was the marriage agreement your imperial grandfather set long ago. How can we go back on it?" The 6th princess grew furious and wanted to slander her. If she hadn't seduced the crown prince of northern Qin into agreeing that we sisters would marry him together, how could a mere daughter of a concubine be worthy of entering the same household as me? Suddenly the empress lowered her voice and said to her, "My daughter is Nanqi's legitimate imperial princess, and also northern Qin's future empress. As for that Song Qingjing, she is nothing more than a petty creature trapped in place. So what if she is married off together with you? By then, she may not even be alive to set foot on northern Qin's soil." Seeing that her precious daughter still did not understand, she finally said it plainly. "Rest easy, my child. Your mother has already arranged everything for you." 1 month later, on the road outside the capital, the Emperor of Nanqi and the Crown Prince of Northern Qin drank a ceremonial pledge together. With this marriage alliance, may Nanqi and Northern Qin be bound as allies forever. Let heaven and earth bear witness. May Northern Qin and Nanqi prosper forever. Yet inside that carriage, Song Qingjing could not stop trembling. Her heart was full of unease. In her previous life, it had looked exactly like this. This was how her life had ended. After drinking the wine, Qinan enthusiastically ordered his troops to set off at once. But on the road from Nanqi to northern Qin, someone had already lain in wait. They waited only for the group to pass before giving the order to act. Sure enough, it began with a single arrow that sent the horses into panic. The black-clad men then rushed out in force, shouting, "Attack!" The moment he saw there was an ambush, Song Juanchen frowned and observed, thinking, "Song Qingjing's people? No, they're too ruthless. These aren't hers." So he fiercely engaged them in battle. "On my orders, protect the princesses." In the middle of the sword fight, the black-clad men were suddenly slashed across by a strange weapon, long, flexible, and razor-sharp. It was then that the 7th princess's people arrived in time to guard their master and snatch away the bride. When Weia asked, "Where is the princess?" Juanchen immediately said in the carriage, "Hurry and take her away." But after freezing for about 2 seconds, Weia went stiff on the spot when he saw there were 2 identical carriages. In the end, he took a 50-50 gamble, and what he grabbed was the 6th princess, Song Manjiao. Before he